and we are finally live. What is going on, my specialist SPC here, and welcome back to the Midwest Cantina podcast. So, guys, today I got two brand new guests here on the channel. They joined me in my specialist ranking video we did last month. So, please welcome Nick from the Movie Ranker. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You?
Oh man, for a long day, I'm doing pretty good. Very eventful day. Yeah. Is all I can say.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, and then of course we've got Jason from Backtrack Cinema. Jason, how are you doing today?
I am rolling. I tell you that. It's been a week with a lot of fast-paced life, work, kids going back to school, all that jazz. But I have been so excited ever since we released our rankings to talk about this, because this was fun, man, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me, because it's such a cool idea. It's such a fun thing to talk about with buddies. So
yeah, like I said in my video, it's just something I've been wanting to do for like 3 years, and finally I was like, you know what, the hell with it. I'm just gonna go with it, because if I don't do it now, I'm probably never gonna do it. So I knew I needed to get on it. So, but yeah, guys, we're here to talk about each of our rankings, because obviously we all had wildly different opinions on specific films. Some of us had similar opinions on films, and thanks to my buddy Jason down here, he spent his time and he actually did the average of what the ranking actually is going to be. So we're going to look at that first, and then I'm going to just kind of do this round table wise. You guys can bring up whichever film you want to watch, or not watch, talk about, or whatever. But because obviously, again, I knew I had a lot of unpopular opinions in my rankings. So
are we just gonna, you just gonna start from 32, and we'll do the go down the ranking?
Yep. Well, I think we'll just start at 32 and just work our way to number one. Okay. And then, yeah, we'll go around and ask some wonderful questions. Address the chat here, though, for a minute. We got Ledger Forever's here.
What's up, Ledger?
And he's asking, Nick, can you rank the Rambo movies next?
No. It's possible if I have time by this end of the month there.
And Jason, where did you get your posters?
Amazon, I think, and I bought the frames at Walmart, basically. And the Rocky one's in a frame. My First Blood one down there is it's a smaller poster, but unfortunately, I don't have much room. Things are covered up. I got to reorganize all this, but people seem to like it all cluttered and full of crap and stuff. So, yeah, that's where I got them from, though, dude. Is Amazon. You can get some good shit there. Yeah, I had to have my favorite movies. You can't see the other two, but since we're talking about these movies, there's my Terminator. Correct.
I like that one. I like the Terminator one especially.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, we are going to look here at the average overall ranking of the specialist ranking, and of course, obviously, we also have our placement of these films. So, starting off with number 32, we have got Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and I think we all agree this is easily the worst Planet of the Apes film.
Oh, yes. Out of the Planet of the Apes, for sure.
I mean, it's just boring.
Yeah. Yeah, problems, man. Big problems. It almost reminds me of, like, how bad Predator 2 could have been if they did that. If they walked you through everything about the Predator again, you'd be sitting there halfway through. Okay, we know this.
Mm-hmm.
We know this, right? This is what this felt like. It's like, okay, just get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think Nick said this. The production design is quite good in the underground and stuff like that. And there are some good ideas in it. It's just like you guys said, it's boring.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the first half is basically copy and paste of the original film. So I feel like you don't even really need to watch the first half of this film.
It's like a lesser version of the first film.
Yes, easily.
Yeah. And the second half just goes bizarre in bizarre places.
Yes. And so my ranking of this was number 31. I wanted to put it in last, but my last place was easy. And Nick has it in last place, and Jason has it in number 31 as well. And bringing us to number 31, we got RoboCop 3. I had this at 26, Nick at 28, and Jason at number 30. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is just a film. It doesn't work for me. I hate the CGI and the him flying. I don't know why. I laughed the 2 times I watched this, even getting ready to do my video recording. I laughed every time I had to see that part.
Yeah, what bothers me the most about this movie is when Lewis dies. Not that she was built up. That's the mistake they made for this whole franchise, including the first movie. She was never built up. She was never utilized enough. But still, to see her go out and just like skate by it, and then all of a sudden RoboCop's on this path of revenge, it should have meant a lot more.
Yeah,
to
it
this
felt like
character.
nothing.
Yeah, but I think the movie starts good though. I think it has an interesting beginning. I think we're waiting too long to get to RoboCop. He seems to not be around for like the first 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Yeah, I like the whole Resistance crew and everything. It's just
Yeah.
they had potential with that villain too, with like the samurai, cyborg or whatever. But yeah, they do nothing with it. So this feels very cheap. The movie.
Yeah, it doesn't. Honestly, it really doesn't feel like a RoboCop movie to me. Like, I don't really know what to say. It feels like because it's not RoboCop to me, and it to me is easily the worst RoboCop movie. And then now bringing us to number 30 is going to be The Predator. I had this at 23, Nick at 31, Jason at 28.
Yeah, this is one that gets worse on every rewatch for me. At first, I was kind of mixed on it. Now I just downright hate it. The cast is all right, but they're used as a joke. They're going more for the comedy than going for the action thrills or the horror aspects. And yeah, I just don't like this CGI big predator thing at first. And yeah, they don't really do anything with the story that I like.
Yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good. Like there's one scene I like, and even the scene I like kind of has some problems, but is when the predator wakes up in the lab. I really like the sequence. It's a little bit of CGI blood here and there, and I think the lead actor is pretty good. But I mean, when they said Shane Black was going to be doing this Predator movie, I was right there. I was excited, man. I was like, oh yeah, it's good. This is going to be like the first one, scarier than the first one, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what am I watching? Studio meddling, I get it, but whoa, it's just like there's things that just feel out of place, things that feel like nothing. It's like a scene. It's stitched together with another one, stitched together with another one, and I don't find this movie funny at all. I don't like the characters are not funny, and I don't like predators hunting predators. I think it's a dumb concept with the lore of these creatures. I think if I read the comic books, I'd understand it better, and they probably did a better job at it. But what I've seen on film, I just don't like. I think it looks out of place for these characters, especially in this one where they're tapping into spinal fluid to make themselves superior. They already are superior. They wouldn't look at themselves as inferior like that. That's my take, though.
I'll be honest. When I first watched this, I liked it. I actually thought it was pretty fun. But yeah, now that I knew all the backstage stuff that happened, and yeah, sitting down and rewatching it, the flaws are a lot more apparent to me. I do like the predator that's in here that we follow until he gets killed by the big, ugly, terrible CGI predator. I was into it until then. Especially now knowing that, you're watching the trailer and you see this whole sequence of these loonies and these predators like teaming up, fighting all these other guys on a tank and stuff. It's like, where the hell is this at? Like,
right?
it's like an entire day is just like gone. It's like, they were just there, and now they're over here, and like it's literally a whole next scene. Like pacing issues, terrible.
I'm pretty sure there's a scene where they're like, "You remember the other night on Halloween?" It's like that was the same night because you cut out that day or whatever in between.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's terrible.
it's the thing I hate about studios, man. When they get involved in a movie, it's like prime example, Justice League, as a lot of people like to call it. Like,
It's because they're following what if something comes out that's popular, every other film company's gonna go, we got to do this with this, and then it all feels and looks the same
Mm-hmm.
instead of just making your own unique fucking movie.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a few movies on this list that do that same thing that I know a lot of people have their problems with for sure. We'll get to a few of them, but yeah, that's one thing I want, man. I just want some more uniqueness with these franchises specifically. The only one I think that does it pretty well is the Planet of the Apes films.
Yeah.
Like Terminator, man, I would say it's my favorite out of all these franchises, but I just feel like they just can't succeed without replicating what those first two films did.
Right.
And yet there is so much potential, and I could talk to you all day about it. But I talk to buddies on YouTube, even with Nick, Caleb at Dark Ether, and I tell you, we come up with like 10 ideas within 30 minutes without replicating the formula.
Mm-hmm.
It's just they're too scared to stray away from it because a lot of the general audience won't take to it, I think. But you got to give them something, right? You got to give them something. I really want Terminator to come back big. Not in this, like, I think it needs to go back to a low budget feel, but we'll get into that with some of these movies here, though.
Mm-hmm. So coming in at number 29 is going to be Escape from the Planet of the Apes. I have this at 25, Nick at 30, Jason at 23. I worded it perfectly in mind. This is the weirdest film out of all these because it's such a huge tonal shift from what you've seen. Like I felt like I was watching more of like a not a teenage, like a TV drama comedy kind of film. I was like,
well, it's the tone. The last act is like I was like,
right,
what the like? You know what? If they would have focused on the escape and made it more serious, the whole movie was serious. It's almost a soft reboot, isn't it? In a way.
Yeah, I guess in some ways
it's a time loop. It's like Terminator. They create a time loop, right? And I love that. And I love the zookeeper, the circus guy, because he's from Star Trek 2 as Khan, Ricardo Montalban. I loved his character. I love the little twist at the end, the little switcheroo, and that dark that was this series is dark,
right?
Even in the original series. And you know what? I think this one will grow on me more. I think that's why I got it at 23. I was like, I want to watch that again, just to unpack it a little bit more. Because these were first time watches, other than the original Planet of the Apes, the original series. So yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was.
I found it was a step in the right direction compared to Beneath, but the first hour, like with all the court scenes and the investigation and all that, it felt like it was real time. Like I was actually in court with them. It was kind of long and dragged out, but that last act is great. I kind of had more respect for it just because of the shock factor and how bleak it is. But everything leading up to that point, like the first hour, I was just not invested. Even though I did like some of the questions they asked, like if you could go back in time and kill Hitler's mom, like, you know, even though she was innocent, like there's interesting questions. It's just that whole execution of the film is off to me.
Yeah. But the thing I gotta say, I love Ronnie McDowell in these films. Like to me, he's the best part of these original films. Like I don't care who he's playing, because he's even in the TV show. I guess I don't remember. He's playing a whole other different ape in that one too. But to me, man, he is what makes these original films at least tolerable for me. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this one was just weird. Like just the tonal shift until the last act is like, I don't even know what I'm watching. Like this is really the movie. This is really what we're watching now. Okay, well I'm invested. I guess let's see what happens. And yep.
Like Jason said, if it would have been more of the movie about them escaping in that, I think it would have been better.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot more enjoyable than watching them in court and getting drunk and stuff.
Yeah.
So 28 is Terminator Genesis. This to me is the worst film out of all these. I hate this movie. Like I hate it. So obviously 32. Nick had this at 20 or at 18.
18, yes.
And Jason had this at 27.
Yeah, Nick likes it more than us, but
yeah.
I
hate it.
Go, Nick. God. Go.
Yeah. Yeah, I always found that I liked it more than most people. I really just enjoy the time jumps and them kind of trying to replicate the first couple movies, but it being a little off and kind of screwing up due to the amount of times they went back in the past. I think casting is one of the biggest issues for a lot of people here, and it was a problem for me for a bit, but at the same time, I feel like with this many changes in the past and the future, we wouldn't get the same characters, so it kind of does work for me. And yeah, I enjoy the action. John Connor being bad kind of works for me too, because he's the last thing for the Skynet, their last hope, I should say, where before he was humanity's last hope. So I like that little switcheroo. There's a lot of reversals in here, like especially with Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor and stuff, the way their characters act. And yeah, I just enjoy it, I guess, more than most people.
Yeah, it's I will say Emilia Clarke, I love her in Game of Thrones. She's my favorite character in that show. So I was excited to see her play Sarah Connor. I was like, oh wow, I want to see. I think she could deliver. I think it's just the tone they went for, and I like her more near the end of the movie. Like I warm up to her more as when I first meet her, though. I'm like, man, this is rough. And Jay Courtney, fuck that guy. I hate this guy. I hate this guy playing, getting these big movies like John McClane's son.
Yeah,
I
just finished watching that.
Yeah, and he gets this, and it's like you can actually see him running and looking almost at the camera and looking at the line where he has to stop. It looks so bloody scripted in his physicality. Where the original, Michael, especially when you're copying that original movie, you think it would feel like that, but they're just fucked with that first movie too much. And I was just like, I tempt them for doing like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I could see how that'd be a hard thing to do for such a classic movie, but I don't know. I just think it's a stupid story in this. I just can't. Although I commend them for trying. Like that whole opening, that would have been really cool if it was more despair and dark and grimy and gritty. But they gave us this freaking Hollywood polished feel, and it was just like, and they used practical Terminators in it. They made a lot of that stuff, but it doesn't look like it, unfortunately.
Doesn't help either, dropping it from R to PG-13.
Did they really?
Yeah, this is a PG-13 movie.
No, I didn't know it was originally rated R though. Like,
yeah, like I said, the only shred of a positive I can give this is, I personally think on paper, like the cast is awesome. Like, getting Arnold back. I mean, we didn't get him in Salvation. We got a terrible looking CGI Arnold in that. I mean, I like Emilia Clarke. I think she's fine as Sarah. Yeah, Jai Courtney. I don't mind him as an actor, but yeah, he's as Kyle Reese. He was terribly miscasted. Same thing with Jason Clarke. I like Jason Clarke as an actor. Just John Connor was not his role, and I'd have been a little bit more invested if they wouldn't have showed us that John was going to be the villain in the trailers. And to me, I think this has the worst comedy in the entire series, personally, to me. Like, yeah. I do not like this version of the T-800 at all. I'll say it again. I hate this movie. This might be tied with my overall least favorite movie of all time.
Oh wow.
Yes, I hate it that much.
I just want to add, I do like how the T-800 stayed behind, and then when they took the time machine or whatever, he was older. I was like, that's kind of clever to have an older Arnold. Makes sense.
Well, they did attempt at a thing we didn't see before by going into the. It'd be like us showing us the future war, and having
Mhm.
Sarah Connor show up in her mid-30s and go,
Right.
"Oh
Yeah.
shit, we're into a movie. What's going on?" They're doing the opposite,
Hmm.
right? That actually would be cool. I would be down for something like that, but um, yeah. But they at least attempted something, and um, but even when my wife was watching, she goes, "This is stupid, Jason." Even she couldn't get behind the John Connor being bad. She just couldn't get behind it. She's just like, this makes no fucking sense. She said. I do like the idea though of Skynet infiltrating through a tablet and everyone's um phones and stuff. I think that's the way something like that could possibly happen. I think that was a good idea. Like I said, some good ideas, but execution.
It's always the problem with these is execution. So number 27 is Alien versus Predator Requiem. I had it at 28, Nick at 25, and Jason at 20. Jason, you like this movie?
Yeah, if I could put it through my editing software and brighten it up, I'd like it more probably.
Yeah.
Um, let I love the Wolf Predator. I think the Wolf Predator is badass in this. I think he's great. Unfortunately, we can't see a lot of these fight sequences. Um, you drop all the teenagers in it, and you keep the girl coming home to her husband from the military. You keep that in there.
Hmm.
Have her more with a focus. Drop everyone else. Really, I like the older brother coming back from jail, and but you just a lot of these other characters you could have dropped, but and funny enough, I'm rewatching all the 24 series, and the girl in this is plays Michelle in 24. So I kind of like the actress, the girl who comes home from the military. Um, but I think that's got some. Unfortunately, you can't see it, but if you're able, there's still some good sequences, and I can have. I love the R rating. I can have fun with this movie. I don't hate this as much as other people. I'll admit that. It's not an awesome movie by any stretch, but like if I was to rank the Predator films, it'd probably be I'm thinking here it'd probably be I don't know, like third maybe.
Oh,
Because it'd be the Predator, then
Third last, you mean?
yeah, something like that. I like this more than the other one, AVPs.
really?
Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah, I feel like they did good going R-rated, but yeah, you can't see, like you said, half the stuff.
there is a trailer though. I found the trailer when I was cutting the clips together, and it was very bright. It wasn't as dark as the movie is. So I
Huh.
was like, is that something that happened after?
Ledger Forever. AVP Requiem. Nick and Jason should know how I feel about this movie.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
Yeah, I like that they go darker. I just wish they literally did not go darker because
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would at least jump up a whole other star for me, at least if I could actually see what was going on. Yeah, I don't like the characters in this. Like they don't work for me. They're
Oh, there's too many of them.
There are a lot. I do like the kills. Like I said, like the R rating definitely helps it a lot. But
And this idea of this other predator, like following him around, picking up the mess, it's kind of cool too. Don't
Yeah,
leave any evidence.
I liked him. He honestly he brings it up a whole star. If
Mhm.
that Wolf Predator is not as good, you know what I mean? And this
Yeah.
I get where you guys are all coming from completely. It just seemed like the grittier feel of the movie.
Mhm. Yeah, characters are one of the biggest problems I have. So.
Yeah, they try. You know what? It almost feels like like the Blob, or a Stephen King film, where they give you a town with all the characters, but they just couldn't find that balance
Mhm.
of everything and make it work into a monster movie.
I actually thought about the Blob last time I watched this, and thinking they
Yeah,
handled the town and the people a lot better. Well, they're more
yeah.
likable characters, I
So that
guess.
goes to show you it can be done,
Yeah.
but they just didn't know how to. They didn't know how to weave all that in there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. So number 26, RoboCop 2. I
Me
had
and
this.
Nick.
Yeah, you and
20
Nick had this at 26, and I had this up at 18.
Yeah, this movie is just. This is the end fight reminded me of like Superman 2 when he faces Zod and all the
in
three,
town.
like almost, except for that it's done better than this. But I like the action. Like I like when he's on the motorcycle and he's on the edge of the van. I like the little the kid taking over and his colorful metaphors and all that. I think he's hilarious in it. But they just dropped this nice storyline of him spying on his wife all the time, and
Hmm.
it's like it's just like there, then it's not, and you're just kind of like, okay, cool, just an action movie. But it is fun. Like it is fun.
Yeah, I find it tries to tackle too many side plots. Like you said, it will start into something and then it will just move on to something else. The tone's kind of all over the place. There's a lot of entertainment to be had. It's a fun film, even though I'm kind of mixed on it. The whole them wanting to take this head criminal and turn him into like RoboCop is so ridiculous to me. He's still addicted to the nuke and everything. It's like why? But um, yeah, just because he won't kill himself, he'll value his life. But yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on this. The whole end fight could be cool, but when you're seeing physical RoboCop against the stop motion for that long, it
So
just
bad.
feels cheap. Yeah, outdated, and yeah, it's just not as impactful as the first film.
I actually thought this was a pretty good follow up to the original. I think it hits at least some of the same beats that I liked about the
Yeah.
original film, because this is only the second time I've ever watched all the RoboCop movies. But again, I like Peter Weller. I do think he's
Mhm.
at least a good RoboCop, definitely better than the guy in 3. And I love the action, man. Like, the action is just what sold me. I was like, okay. And I like that this is still R rated, so
Right.
that helps it for me, especially.
I thought his performance in this was such a down step to the original, and a lot of people don't think Peter Weller is that great in the original. They think he's just kind of there, but this one I felt like he was way too robotic. Like
I found
they
it.
established he's tapping into his humanity, and this one he's completely just, again, he's just like he's reading off cue cards. You know what I mean? And Peter Weller's a good actor. He became a pretty good actor, good character actor, right? But I don't know what happened with that. Maybe it's directing. Maybe he just wasn't interested. Who knows? I don't know.
I just found it hilarious how they were all on strike and him and his partner were still, him and Lewis were still working. They're being scabs.
Yeah.
Number 25. Oh, boy. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. Jason had this at dead last. Nick at 27. And I had this all the way up at number 9.
Yeah, this is fucked up, man. This no, I hear I hear, yeah, nostalgia, stuff like that, but it's, oh my god, this movie. I hate this fucking, like, okay, this is my genesis for you.
Fair
I
enough.
hate this fucking movie. I think Arnold looks completely uninterested. I think the girl Terminator has no fucking logic. It's completely terrible. She's got a cannon blaster, and that yet she's controlling vehicles trying to wipe them out. It's just, there's a lot of logic with this character, and the biggest pussy John Connor is in this movie. I mean, they wanted Linda Hamilton back in this, and they were going to kill her off halfway through the movie, and she says, "This script is terrible. I'm not doing it." They wanted to kill her off, and she says the biggest thing is they were skating by it. They were going to kill her, and it was going to be like there was no moment to breathe. There was nothing. It was just going to be she's dead, and that's it. Thank God that I didn't see that on screen. And so they just wrote her out the way they wrote her out. And I just think, like, maybe John Connor's life in this movie anyway, him and Sarah are connected. They're intertwined. You kind of have to have them both in there. But Claire Danes is easily the best part in this movie for me. I think Claire Danes is actually really good in this, but her performance is too good for the tone they're going after. Like, this feels like slapstick to me, this whole movie. Like, there's not a moment of tension. There's not a moment of, he's got the Elton John glasses on. They're just making fun of what came before. They're saying it's almost like they're going, we can't replicate that to that level, so let's just make fun of it instead. Maybe not consciously they thought that, but that's what it fucking feels like to me. And I can't get behind this movie. I just hate it so much. And if you keep in mind, when this come out, I was 24 years old, so I didn't have that nostalgia. You know what I mean? I got nostalgia for the first movie, if anything, you know what I mean? And so this movie just doesn't work for me, Austin, at any level, man. Except seeing the machines rise at the end, I thought that was kind of cool. They're like these little the little hunter killers when they're only like 6 feet tall and crap like that. And I thought that was kind of cool. And I think it ends pretty good. But this is terrible for me.
I understand. I know this for a lot of people. This is the worst Terminator movie for them. But like I said, I have a lot of nostalgia. I wanted to go see this in theater. I mean, hell, I snuck in and got to see like 10, 15 minutes for free of it instead of sitting through that terrible Eric Bana Hulk movie, which I really didn't want to
fuck
see.
That one's... I saw both of these in the theater. Look how I fucking feel.
Rough year.
Yeah. I mean, I like Arnold. To me, maybe besides the sunglasses, it's my favorite look of Arnold. I know that's not really what's important to the story or anything, but comedy to some degrees works for me in here. There's just some of the comedy doesn't really land. I'm somebody who doesn't really hate Nick Stahl as John Connor. I don't think he's atrocious by any means, but I don't think he's far from the best. Obviously, Edward Furlong to me is easily the best John Connor of the entire franchise. And I know a lot of people also compare this a lot to Alien 3, how it kind of just, destroys the ending of the previous film, which again, I understand because of my placement for that film as well, which I'm sure we'll end up talking about as well. But and the ending like just terrified me as a kid. Like, that's honestly, this is the film that like honestly made me like fear of dying at some point. So especially where I live, there's apparently legit like nukes around here, so I'm like, that happens.
To be fair with this movie, the whole idea of Judgment Day, you can't stop it. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I actually agree with that. I think there's always going to be something, no matter what they do. The initial concept of the first movie was that you're tied to fate. Mm. Things had to happen. John Connor had to be born, and he kind of took T2 and said, no, we can stop it. But let's face it, something else would always pop up. There'd always be something, right? So that's not what bothers me really about the movie. I just think we should have went in the future at this point after T2. Like bookend it, and we do get that. Obviously that didn't work for a lot of people, as we will talk about, but yeah, just this fucking movie, man. And you know what? I'll likely review it one last time because I don't have the old channel no more. And oh man, even my wife said this fucking movie's stupid.
I'm not as harsh as you, Jason, but I still have mostly the same problems. Like Nick Stahl's John Connor's my least favorite. This is my least favorite version of T-800. Don't like the comedy. I think some of the action is decent. It's entertaining, like the car chases and that. But yeah, it doesn't offer a whole lot new from like we've seen this stuff before at this point.
What gets me is the guy who directed Breakdown and U-571, tension-filled movies.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there was...
could have been a lot of studio interference.
It could have been. I don't know. But yeah.
But yeah, I loved this as a kid. I had it on VHS. I got it on my birthday for on VHS. So I watched it a lot. It just nowadays it doesn't hit the same.
And to be fair too, I think people were dying for this franchise because how long would it have been? Like 11 years, 12 years?
Yeah, 11.
So a long time. That's like us Friday fans. That's how long we've
Mm-hmm.
been going on for another movie. Um, so yeah, maybe they just, unfortunately, this is what we got. But like I said, if you were a kid during this time, this movie probably really worked for you.
I will be even brutally honest. There was a part of me that almost put this above T2, if I'm being honest with you.
Holy shit.
Yeah. When I originally had like my Terminator ranking, this was second place. But then rewatching them, I'm like, ooh, it's.
I do really love the place when they go to like the funeral place and they're all shooting up there. I think that's really fun where Arnold's going out with the casket.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really
the
cool
most iconic
scene.
shot of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and you know what? That's why you should always rewatch stuff, because I know I feel different for even 10 years ago till now. Like, I'm a different movie fan now.
And depends what mood you're in when you're watching them, and everything factors in.
Like, I like this a lot more than I do now. Like when you're talking though over 20 years ago for me. So I just, there's so many problems with it. I see that. So.
That's like me over the last few years with Halloween. Like, my least favorite for like 13 years was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It was in last place all the time.
Same here.
It's my third favorite Halloween film now.
It's my fourth.
Like, to this day, I'm still like, I like this movie now. And then watching this last time, I'm like, damn, do I love this movie? Like, I jumped up 9 spots in 2 years. Like, holy hell.
Especially after Halloween ends, I'll take Halloween 2 any day.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot lately. All right, number 23 is the 2001 Planet of the Apes. I had this at 15, Nick at 21, Jason at 29.
Yeah, I like this a lot more when it first came out. This again, when I rewatched it this time, I went, holy fuck, does this movie suck? I was like, it's lifeless. They're just going through the beats of the original movie, but there's no great commentary. They touch on it a bit, but there's no great discussions. Doesn't make me think after. Yeah, and I feel like the ape society is modeled really a lot like humans, whereas the original movie, they had their own society. It was different than humans. Like the way they're putting the humans in cages and stuff like that. It was like, it just felt like, I don't know, like there was just like not as creative, but the Rick Baker's makeup and everything's great. I do like some of the action sequences. I like the girl ape character there who's, is trying to understand the humans. The villains are really good, like Austin said on his video. But the fucking ending, it's just, when me and my cousin saw this in the theater, we worked together at that point, and we got off early. We said, yeah, let's go see Planet of the Apes, because at that point I was just getting into the original movie and stuff, and I was like, we were like, the ending, we were just like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what you got?
Mm-hmm.
And like the human girl in this, the blonde girl, she's just sitting there like she doesn't know what to say. She's like it was likely her first film. Like, that's what it looked like. And I'm like, Tim, and it feels nothing like a Tim Burton movie. Like, usually he has this stamp of creativity, his own uniqueness. He does a lot of distorted images and stuff like that. There was nothing like that in this.
Johnny Depp's not in it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Could be why. But yeah, when I go to review this, I got to return to it again. But other than that, I don't care for it.
I was interested to see where everybody placed this one, because it's known to be famously bad on the internet, and I've never seen it before until I did this ranking. And yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. Love the costume designs, love the villains, like you said. Tim Roth's great. Mark Wahlberg's kind of generic. Like, it could have been really any person in that role for me. But yeah, I do like how they get to the planet. They made it a little different with the monkey and everything, the chimpanzees. That ending, I was just so confused. I was like, I had to rewind. I was like, did I miss something? And I did research. I did research online and everything, trying to figure out how the hell did this even happen. But apparently, you have to like make up your own scenario on how he went back in time. Was it Thad or Thade, whatever his name is? Went back in time before Mark Wahlberg and changed Earth to screw him over. But it's a little far fetched. But aside from that, yeah, it's to me, I had a decent time with it. I enjoyed it.
I have a lot of fun with the action in this, man. Like, and I love the villain. Like, for me, he's tied with Koba for being my favorite villain in the series. I do lean a little more towards Koba though than I do with him. But
I see
yeah,
that.
Mark Wahlberg, I'm more mixed on him. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's like atrocious by any means.
Mhm.
And me personally, I think these have like the best practical effects, the best set design of the entire franchise. Personally, because of course, obviously, we know the newer films are a lot more heavy on the CGI and stuff. But
Mhm.
I've never really hated this movie. I have a good time with it too. Again, I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite remakes of all time, but I definitely don't think it's the worst of all the Planet of the Apes, or even one of the worst remakes ever made. I can see the people who probably hate it, especially if they grew up watching the original Planet of the Apes. I can see why it probably goes against what they used to like with the series, but I like it, man. And of course, the great and very late great Michael Clark Duncan is in this, man. I love his character. So
Yeah, I did like I said, I do like some things in it. This time when I watched it, it just felt like it had no life to it. Like I was just like, I don't know, maybe I was tired. Who knows? But it just felt like I don't know.
It is very light on the social commentary compared to the
Yeah,
original
and that's what
film.
I like about, and we'll get into more of them. I was like, fucking, these movies really go deep, man. Like, and this one just kind of played a safe blockbuster. It was almost like the studio was telling them to play it safe. You know what I mean? And originally they wanted Arnold in the lead, and this whole ending was going to be he was going to teach the apes all how to play baseball, and then when he arrives, it was going to be like he's at Yankee Stadium and all these apes are playing baseball in New York Yankee freaking outfits, and I go, I know it's even worse, maybe, but I think they wanted like a star power lead like Arnold as the, which for that tone of that film, I think that's maybe what it needed.
It was odd to choose Tim Burton anyway to remake this, even though he was popular at the time. But I don't know, just doesn't seem like Planet of the Apes is his thing.
no, he needs to stick more with what he's good at, with like things like Beetlejuice and
Yeah, like
Wednesday.
gothic stuff.
Yeah, Edward Scissorhands, man. I'll still say it. I think that's my favorite Tim Burton movie. I just really enjoy that one. So number 22, Alien Resurrection. I had this at number 30. Nick at 24 and Jason at 24. I don't like this movie, man. This was my very first Alien movie I ever watched, like ever. Like,
I'll be honest, I was excited about it with the trailers, and I was working at my dad's shop in the summertime, I believe. What was this? What year was this movie? 97?
late 90s is all I remember. I don't remember the
Yeah, I
year.
was like 18. I was working at my dad's shop. And we were excited. We're like, "Do you see that trailer, man? When the guy comes down with the guns and starts blasting, and that's probably one of the best sequences in it." But there's some campy fucking shit in this movie, and then there's some real serious, disturbing stuff that you're like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Like, again, tone is everything. If
Mm.
you can't keep a consistent tone, there's people who could weave in and out of tones and stuff like that. But that's a caliber of director that has a clear vision. But yeah, it's not good. But I found I had some fun with this one this time. I like what they do with Sigourney Weaver though, like how she's this what is she like? She's been created. Yeah, she's been cloned and created, kind of like this alien. She's got the when she bleeds, it's kind of melting through the floor, and it allows her to be a little bit more aggressive, and she's badass and stuff. Um, and the one scene I really like is when she sees her own clone, and she starts, she starts crying and stuff, gets emotional. I thought that was disturbing, that scene in the theater too. I thought like that was a fucked up scene, but then it's so campy and weird the rest of the movie.
After I saw who wrote it, I understand why.
Who wrote it?
Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah, he wrote the group of characters.
Well, that makes kind of sense.
Slight little mix up. I actually had Alien 3 at 24. I was gonna say I thought I had Resurrection way higher, but I don't think it would have changed the ranking too much. This one just would have been like a place or two higher. Yeah, because I have it at 16. Because I thought I was like, whoa, I thought I had this higher.
Oh, I must have read your letterbox wrong that you sent me.
Yeah, that's fine. It's only one movie so far. But yeah, I was actually sad that it was 16. I thought I would have had it higher in my list because I really enjoy this one, but I do see the flaws, like the tonal flaws, like you said. The whole ending is just weird as hell. Like, I like the idea that the alien could get pregnant because it had Ripley's DNA in her, but the whole product of the baby is just a mess, a gooey white mess. But yeah, fun cast. You got Sigourney Weaver, Winona Ryder, what's his name? Friggin' Hellboy in here.
Yeah, Rob Roman.
Yeah, fun
Brad
cast.
Dourif.
Yeah, Brad Dourif. He's great as the mad like scientist. But yeah, I have fun with this movie. It has some pretty cool sequences, like when the alien's swimming. I think that looks pretty good for the time. And yeah, like I said, it has problems, but I find it severely entertaining.
Practical effects, man, I think are fantastic in this. Like, fantastic. But yeah, I not a fan of the story. It's too campy for me. I like my alien films more serious, which I like a lot more of my films more serious. Granted, it's weird for me to say since I have, Terminator 3 at number 9 on my list, but yeah, I mean, I hold this a little bit higher than I wanted to because, again, this was the first Alien film I've ever watched. I really didn't know what was going on because I was getting ready for AVP, and I was like, okay, that wasn't bad. And then I went back and bought the quadrilogy and actually watched them in order and got to this. I was like, wow, this was dog shit at best. And yeah, that whole alien baby, whatever the hell you want to call that thing, get that off my screen. I hate that thing. So number 22.
Oh yeah. Just let me know if I made any mistakes too.
Yeah, see, this one's number 24 as well, so it must have corrected. Shit. Must have corrected it.
I must have.
Maybe it must have got sent a little different, but number 22, Alien 3. I had this at 16. Nick at 24 and Jason at 25.
Yeah, it does something that I just can't stand in film, is by building up characters than just killing them off. I get it if the actors don't want to return and stuff like that, but killing them off, come on, man! Like, don't at least leave it open for another director down the road. You know what I mean? And they do the same thing in what is it, Dream Master, like killing Joey and Kincaid. It's like I fucking hate when they do that. I hate when they do that.
Halloween Resurrection.
Like, yeah, like they do it, and they do it so often. Like, it's one thing to kill a legendary character or someone that you saw in the last. Oh, I hope they come back if it has reason, if it has or something. Now, mind you, it creates a dark story. Everything Sigourney or Ripley has loved is gone, and it puts a real dark story in there. And I think poor David Fincher. This is David Fincher, right?
Yep.
Yeah, poor David Fincher. His hands tied. He couldn't make the movie he wanted to. I mean, he just fucking and Ridley Scott was kind of giving him advice during the shoot too, saying it's this is what it is. You gotta. He was kind of like getting him through it because it's what can you do? Studio meddling, man. And I did watch the assembly cut for the first time, and it is a better cut, but it still doesn't save the what's going on here either. And I thought when the doctor got killed, there was no reason for that. Why'd they kill him? He was the best character so far in this movie, besides
the
Ripley.
guy from Game of Thrones there.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is getting worse and worse. And am I not wrong? Did the theatrical cut have a dog alien and
yes,
the
and
assembly cut was a cow?
Yeah,
I thought so. I thought, am I getting this right? Like,
it's an odd change, but
change, in my opinion.
For all the studio meddling and everything, and David Fincher not even owning this movie anymore, says he doesn't consider it one of his films. It turned out okay for all that, I think, but still there's a lot of problems like that intro. The movie just looks bland to me. Like the whole thing just looks like a concrete slab. Like the cinematography, I don't know, this looks bland. I like all the convicts and these rapists and that all in this prison. That's interesting. Especially with an alien running around and Ripley. But yeah, it's okay, but not something I'm running back to very often. CGI is terrible too for the alien.
Oh yes, I highly agree with that.
It does have one of the best shots though in the franchise,
with the face coming close.
Yeah, with the face coming to again, and she's like this, and I really do like that moment between the alien, like it's smelling the alien inside her and the little baby inside her and stuff like that. And I thought, that was cool. I like the shot. Like I could see David Fincher, showing his directing abilities, and he went on to be the fantastic director.
Yeah, a couple of years later, he went on to make Seven, which I think is personally his best film. Yeah. For me, getting to see the first three films for the first time here a couple of years ago, I like this film quite a bit. I don't have as many problems with the opening. I think it could have been handled a lot better, but to me, it doesn't really overly affect me entirely since, I didn't get to grow up watching this, getting close to the characters and all that. So this film did come out a year before I was born. If you guys, want to kind of get where I am age-wise with this, but I like how this goes back to a more, enclosed, claustrophobic kind of feel. I like the practical effects. I like how this goes back more to like a grounded horror film. Obviously, the first film was much more horror. Second film, a lot more horror action, good combination. This was just straight horror, and that's what I really like about the franchise a lot. I won't say this is my favorite interpretation of Ripley, but I do really like what Sigourney Weaver does and brings to the film. And that ending always just like kind of leaves my jaw dropping because I would have liked to have seen at least one more film with that version of Ripley. But yeah, CGI is atrocious. Like I said, I do agree that they could have handled the opening, the death of Newt and Hicks, a lot better. I think there was a way, maybe like the escape pods could have like went out or something, or she fell out and those two just kind of went off and did their own thing or something.
Yeah, this was also at a time when Michael Wynn, sorry, that's Resurrection. Like Michael Wincott. Yeah, that's Resurrection, where he was getting a lot of, ever since The Crow, he was getting a lot of villain roles. Yes. I'm thinking of the wrong movie now. But Alien 3, the video game, was cool, though. I remember playing the video game back in the day.
Wow.
Seeing the graphics for it.
I always wondered how Ripley got infected or got, by the Queen. Like, when would that happen?
Well, I think they do it in these little stupid flashbacks at the beginning that you're trying to make.
Like in the spaceship?
Yeah. And Michael Biehn said he wouldn't even allow them to use his likeness. So it was like they were against this freaking movie. There was some serious. I do like the no weapon thing though. I think that was a cool idea where it's like, okay, these things are already dangerous enough. dangerous enough. So this is even worse, man. Like where she goes, we're fucked.
And Hershey's like roaming around this prison all the time with these rapists everywhere. It's like, what are you doing? Go stay in the med lab.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. All right, so we're now at number 21. That's the RoboCop remake. Jason at 21, me at 14, and Nick at 29.
All over the place.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Let's see why you picked this movie.
I think it hurt watching this all back to back, all 4 movies. This one, like Jason said for another film, I don't know if it's Terminator 3 or whatever, but it just feels lifeless to me. Like they watered down the PG-13. We don't get a whole lot of action. It's more like training scenes and that. Don't get a big epic finale, I find. I do like how they deal with his human aspects a little more in this. But everything else, I don't know. It just didn't feel like RoboCop to me. He has a cool look and everything, but yeah, not for me.
It was I really like the opening to this film. I enjoyed this film this time around for some reason. I was like, I like what they're doing here. Some good commentary, about our security and what they can tap into, our privacy. And being someone who plays guitar, I connected to that guy who lost his hand, and he's telling him, what you've learned is from the brain. It's not in your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just really cool how this doctor is trying to help everyone. He's kind of like the girl in RoboCop 3, who's like really trying to help RoboCop and like takes care of him, like fixes him and stuff. And the Gary Oldman character I thought was really cool. But this movie needed blockbuster action to really. But there's a lot of good character work here. And funny enough, on my what was this 2014?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
right?
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was my 6th anniversary. We're at the Royal York in Toronto, big hotel. A lot of the stars stay at in Toronto, and they were filming a scene in that hotel the next day. They were shutting down in this movie. So it said, yeah, RoboCop being filmed here tomorrow. The wife and I stayed the night before, so it was cool. So when this come out, I was trying to look for that part, but so that was kind of neat. But yeah, I don't completely get the hate. I get where Nick's coming from with lifeless. I wouldn't say that for me. Like, I don't think it's completely lifeless. I just think it needed a bit more characters that we could care about. I think the wife is really good too. And I think it needed to really give us that third act, James Cameron style action movie where RoboCop's just going fucking insane. He's jumping everywhere, taking people out. You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. So it starts off as a pretty dark detective grim story, actually, with him undercover and stuff like that. I thought it was kind of cool.
I just want to add that I just felt like Detroit wasn't dirty enough.
Yeah.
Just felt like any other city in this one, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Joel Kinnaman as RoboCop. I like what they do, like how he's more humane, a lot more human than, the original RoboCop, where he is just straight up acting like a robot, and that's just never entirely worked for me. Like, I like the humanization of this version of the character the best, because it's a much more believable version of this character. I do like the little bit of action that we get overall, and I agree with you too, Jason. I do like the wife. I do think she's probably, out of everybody, one of the best actors in the film. Big reason though, man, Sam Jackson's in this. Love Sam Jackson. Easily one of my absolute favorite actors of all time, so it just automatically gets another star just for that. But yeah, I don't hate this movie. I would say this is another remake alongside Planet of the Apes that I can sit down and enjoy more than the previous 2 RoboCop movies, but I don't really get the hate either. I don't know if it's just because he doesn't look like RoboCop, doesn't sound like RoboCop, if it just doesn't follow the same beats as the first film. But to some degrees, I like this a little more than the original. Like I said, this is probably my favorite version of RoboCop overall.
That's why you got to get on Die Hard with a Vengeance, since you like Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
I do. We were talking earlier before we started. I've only seen one Die Hard movie, and it's the one.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Wow,
And it's part 4.
that's my wheelhouse. Other than this stuff here, the that would be a very good what do you call it? Specialist ranking. Doing like Rambo and John Wick and Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. That'd be kind of fun one.
Oh yeah.
I would have a lot of movies to watch.
I wouldn't. I need.
You'd be easy. You'd be like, hell yeah, I got this already.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting to the top 20 now. So we are at Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I had it at 22, Nick at 23, Jason at 18. Now, Jason, you said you liked pretty much most of these original Planet of the Apes.
Well, yeah, I like this series, I think, more than you guys did. Because I was told that these were dumpster fires. Like this through media, growing up as a kid. I just watched the first one. The rest are trash. Now, I understand that with Beneath. That's where that proved that. But I'm watching, after that, I get to Escape. I go, fuck that. After I watched the end of Escape, I'm like, I'm putting the next one on. Then I watched Conquest. I'm like, this is fucking good. And then I watched this one. I'm like, okay, very made for TV. I said this in my thing. Like I did the calculation on inflation. This movie's budget was cut down so much that they pretty much, the studio said, okay, just go make your movie. That's all you get. It'd be like making Planet of the Apes for $12 million now. Someone giving them just $12 million. That's how low the budget was on this.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and you could tell, like it's scrimmage of the apes. It's not Battle of the Planet of the Apes, but there was some emotional shit in here. I was just like, I wasn't expecting Cornelius to die, get cut out of the tree and everything like that. And then I just love that conversation between him and his dad giving him that one last line of just dying out with a dream by saying, one day you'll be as tall as the king. And I was just getting emotional. I was like, you could see where the new trilogy was tapping into all the good parts.
You're right.
And exploiting it more, taking those great ideas. And like you said, Austin, Roddy McDowall, he's great in this. He's great. Now, Aldo's kind of like, he's pretty terrible. He's no Kobo, that's for sure. But he's like, he's got one line he keeps repeating that's kind of silly. He goes, apes need guns. Guns give power. They keep saying it. He goes, guns need power. It's like they didn't know any other lines for this character, and adding the nuclear men, but just doing it better and having this battle at the end. And where I was actually, I guess I'm just dumb. I didn't see it, but I didn't see that thing coming where the apes were faking it. So I was kind of like, oh, that was cool. I was like, that's kind of cool. I didn't really see that coming. So, but that's me. I was just really enjoying this. I was really enjoying the franchise, and I was just like, you know what? It solidified that Planet of the Apes franchise now, like all together. This could be top 5 favorite franchises of all time for me. Like, yeah, I know you love your Star Wars, Austin. I love this world more. I'll say that. Okay. With that new trilogy, especially though, that's where the heart of it is. But these were just like icing for me. Just like, wow, there's some really awesome stuff here, and I can't wait to review every movie. Honestly, I'm excited to do this again, to get into these again. So that's why I have it up a little higher than you guys, I think.
Well, even though I'm at 23, I still enjoyed this one too. I'd give it a positive rating. It reminded me of the TV show, which I caught when I was younger on TV. Had that same kind of feel to it with the village and everything. I like the Civil War with the apes and also with the humans coming in. You kind of got 2 battles going on. Yeah, you do feel the budget, especially when the nuclear men, like you said, are approaching. It feels like there's 12 of them when they try to make it seem like there's a whole army. But yeah, this one was pretty good. I do like that twist, like you said, where they're faking it. I didn't see that coming either. And yeah, I had fun with this one, and it was a good way to wrap up this saga.
Yeah, I think it does enough to at least end this franchise at the time. I think it does it decently enough. I'll keep saying it, man. The practical effects and production, that's like my biggest positive for each of these original Planets of the Apes films. Like, I just think they're fantastic. That's the thing I've enjoyed about all of them. Yeah, we just needed a higher budget and a lot more people so we could actually have a legit battle instead of like a playground.
Like clearly the original franchise could have been thought out better, but this was the very first franchise, really. If you think about it. It was even before Dirty Harry. So you had Dirty Harry, the 70s. Rocky kind of started in the late 70s. But this was really the first. I don't think they knew what to do with a franchise. They were in the dark, kind of. They were like just playing by ear, maybe. And let's see what happens. And you take all that into consideration, it's a pretty good original franchise.
Sure.
And Ledger Forever. I'm already doing a ranking with a few of my YouTube buddies with John Wick, Rambo, Daniel Craig, James Bond, Die Hard, Mission Impossible, and The Expendables.
That's a good ranking, my friend. You do that. Yeah. It's good to have friends on YouTube. That's what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm. That's great action.
Most of the Daniel Craig movies, I think, would be in my like top 10 at least.
Oh God, they're so good. And I'm at the last one I watched is Skyfall. I got to see the other two.
I'm bouncing back and forth, man. It's between Casino Royale and No Time to Die, man. I love those two.
Yeah.
They were so good.
Casino Royale is an awesome movie, man. It's just such a good movie.
I just love that whole scene with him where he's like poisoned and like trying to play it off. And
tension. Very tense scene.
It's like, damn, this guy's a good actor. That was the first Daniel Craig movie I ever watched. I'm like, damn, this is great. I like this.
And I'm not a big Bond. Like I haven't seen any of the. I've seen GoldenEye and Moonraker. And that's it.
Oh wow,
and those three. Yeah, I'm not a big Bond fan. So I was like, but I bought the Sean Connery like little pack. So on one of these days, I'm gonna go back and watch them.
I've only seen the Daniel Craig movies. That's all I've seen.
Oh,
I've only seen 60s and 70s Bonds.
Interesting.
We're all over the place.
Picks.
Yeah.
That's a ranking in itself. All the Bond movies.
Oh,
God.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure.
Some movies.
All right. 19. Terminator Dark Fate. Jason at 17, Nick at 19, me at 24. Man, I don't know. I don't know what it was with this last rewatch, but I wasn't really all that big into this time around. I just, like we brought up with T3, obviously it at times is beat for beat of Terminator 2. I hate Grace. She's so bland and boring.
Yeah, that surprises me. I was like, to hate her is one thing. To go, not like to hate her. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I was like, because I liked her. I think she's one of the stronger parts of the film. I think Sarah Connor is the strongest part. That's why that number 17 is why it's there. Especially that scene where she goes, I can't remember John's face anymore. And I was just like, I was feeling her, man. I was just like, I was feeling that pain. And I like how they reiterate that this has always been about Sarah, not John. This has always been Sarah's story. And I'm not saying this movie's great, fantastic. It has problems, man. Mm-hmm. It has problems, but I can put this on and really still have fun with it. One thing Caleb says, because he hates this fucking movie, but one thing he says, it would have made more sense if Carl owned a gun shop, something a Terminator would actually, and I think he's right. Yeah, taking that comedy a bit too much, but I don't know. I've even talked this with Nick. It seems to work. and a lot of the bigger YouTubers, they've always given this movie um some good high praise. Like I said, I don't, and I feel like I'm being a hypocrite because Alien 3, Dream Master,
Yeah,
they
I
do the
was just
same
about to
thing,
say.
and they do the same thing here, but it doesn't bother me because I think John Connor's just been screwed over a lot.
Hmm.
Now, if it would have been Edward Furlong, not sorry, it was Edward Furlong. If I don't know, it's like why I was even asking myself why didn't I care that they did that? I was just like, okay, see what you got. Let's see what you have. I'm not big on Danny though, so when you get rid of John, you bring her in. I don't really start liking her until the third act. You know what I mean? Where Sarah Connor, you liked her in that original movie for the whole movie, the moment she's on there, right? At least I do. And I don't know what it is. It's I'm not big on the Rev 9 either. The Rev 9 I think is the way he can separate. I thought that was stupid. I don't know. It seems like they're just how do we make something better than the T1000? How do we do that? And they're just it is a lot of rehash, but I don't know. It's just I guess I'm very mixed on the movie. I mean, as it is, it's the middle of the road, as you can see. It's a bit in the middle of the road with all these movies. So, I don't know.
Ledger forever here. The reason you don't feel guilty is because they killed John Connor to reframe the timeline. Alien 3 killed off its characters for no reason.
Yeah, that's good. You know what? That's a good point. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I liked this a lot when it come out. I thought, wow, that was surprisingly good. But when the second time I watched it, I was like, yeah, it dropped from like a 4 to a 3.5 for me, around there. So
Yeah, I'm around the same boat for you when it comes to that. Danny, probably the most forgettable lead in the entire franchise for
Yes.
me. Rev 9 feels like a recycled idea, using the T800 and the T1000 together, kind of. But yeah, I do love Sarah Connor, and she actually brings a lot of emotion, Linda Hamilton, to the role, which I was surprised. I thought they were just going to use her as a cash grab. Not
funny,
big.
funny enough, it was James Cameron. Linda Hamilton wasn't answering the phone like that. He goes, James Cameron's like, could you please do it? All right, all right. She was
Yeah.
like that. Like she wasn't, but I think she wouldn't do anything unless she liked the story though. She obviously
Mhm.
liked that at some level because, like I
Mhm.
said, T3, she said, no, I'm not fucking doing that. Not
Right.
doing that movie. So,
I
yeah. So
Yeah, I just think
maybe
that.
maybe
Oh, go on.
if half the movie or maybe like the first 30 minutes it was Sarah and John running from this Terminator and you earned it more,
Right. Yeah.
maybe they do kill John. And I do like the idea of like what if the Terminator completed its mission? Like that's got to happen every now and then, right? There are Terminators,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
And especially with
But
Skynet not being around, like, then what?
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And I don't know that it's just like I don't even know how Carl is even there if um if Skynet's not there no more. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
gets fucked up. It's like the end of T2, right? Technically John Connor wouldn't exist anymore because they got to send Reese back. There's no
Mhm.
war. So even James Cameron breaks his own logic
War.
sometimes. But for the sake of storytelling, for the emotion of everything and all that. So, but yeah, it works for me, man. I get why, but I'm with people. I get why you hate it. I can understand. I hate Alien 3 for it. I hate Dream Master for it. I hate any movie that takes characters I like and just kills them in the opening scenes of the next one. But
We
I
had so
think,
many different versions of John by this point, that
yeah, it
I was
was
like,
just like
whatever.
you didn't care anymore. That's right.
See, like with Grace, I'll say like her when she's actually like hand to hand combat with somebody, some of the best action in this film, personally to me. But
I think what you're getting at there, Austin, is that she talks down the Sarah so much.
yeah,
That's what a lot of people have a problem with her. But like they're Sarah, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you? What future are you? Where it's like you're talking to the mother of the fucking future who saved the fucking future. So
Yeah.
I do get that. Something Caleb brings up too that we discussed. It's like Yeah, she's talking down to fucking Sarah a lot, man. Like,
Mhm. I just really enjoy those hybrid type characters personally because you never really know if they're good or bad or what, right? Part machine, which we'll
I,
get to with Marcus.
yeah, I'm more in like the middle with this. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Like the problems were a lot more apparent because like I watched all the Terminator movies with my brothers, and my one brother, it's very hard to please him when you watch a movie. Like he, I almost had a heart attack. He even went on a limb saying that that he almost hated the first Terminator. I was like what? I'm like, dude, this is like a 5-star film for me. He's like,
you're smoking fucking crack, man. That's what I'd be telling you.
he's like, yeah, it's like a 3. I'm a 3. Like, oh my god, no, get out of here. But he would still say though, if he had to rank them, that would be number 1, and his number 2 would be T3.
God.
He has that bit of nostalgia.
I want some of those fucking drugs. Maybe I'd like more movies.
Hey man, you just got to come down this way. We'll give you some.
I like some bad movies, so don't. Or what's considered bad, I guess.
Yep. I have those opinions as well. Trust me. So number 18 is the original Planet of the Apes. Nick at number 12, Jason 16, and me down at number 29.
Yeah, Nick really liked this one. I was debating. This one was shuffling all over the place, right up to my recording. It really was. Like, it was obviously there's another one that's higher for me on this one, and I was really struggling on it. But I ended up watching Conquest twice, right, just to make sure. And I was like, damn, the original's good, but I love Conquest. And so this one made 16 for me, and it's got some pretty good camera work in this. There's a lot of really cool distorted moving the camera in strange ways because you're supposed to be in the shoes of this astronaut that doesn't know what the hell's going on. And a lot of great social commentary for me. Obviously, you watch, everyone knows the ending to this, but that must have been something in its time. And it's very much suited for a 60s audience, the civil rights movement and the threat of nuclear war. Kind of still relevant today if you think about it. And maybe even more relevant. And yeah, it works for me, man. I love what's her name who plays the female ape there.
All I know is her name is Zira.
Yeah, Zira. The actress is really good in this, and hell yeah, I'll admit it. I'll watch this just for Nova sometimes, man. Good looking woman back in the day.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this movie is just a classic for me. This wasn't a first time watch. I've seen it before. Love the rich social commentary. The sets are awesome. The costumes for 1968. Like, obviously, you look at it, you know they're in costumes, but 10 minutes into the film, you're already forgetting. Like, as soon as they're on screen, you're kind of invested that they're thinking that they're apes in your mind. It's just that good. Yeah, I love this film. Yeah, that twist ending, like you said, must have been something back in the day when you don't see it coming, right? You think they're on a desolated planet, like. It must be like Empire Strikes Back, how we take it for granted with Darth Vader being Luke's dad, right? Like, but back then that must have been like a shocker, right? At the time,
It's probably a lot to take in at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wasn't a fan of this first film. Like, I like the ending. Again, I said in the last few. I'm gonna say it with the next one too. You know, practical effects and set design is awesome. I like Zira and Cornelius. To me, they're the two best parts of these first 3 films, at least. But man, I don't like Charlton Heston. I don't like his character at all. He's just laughable. Like
He's always has been an over the top actor. You know what I mean? This is like in his little bit. He did the 10 Commandments in the 50s, so he was that blockbuster actor. that you put in all these things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Ben Hur, he's really even Ben Hur. Like he when he sees when Jesus walks by him, right? And Jesus helped him earlier in the movie. Delivers this line like, "I know this man." He's very theatrical, and so I get that issue with him in this movie, right? But he had charisma though. I find like he had that leading man quality.
Mhm.
I just love that little thing how they made his throat get injured, how he couldn't talk
Yeah.
for like the longest time, and that when it does hit, they're all shocked.
I laughed at that line when he said that line. I was like,
Iconic quote there.
yeah, I kind of cringed. I was like, really?
I like the Jerry Goldsmith score too. I mean, Jerry Goldsmith goes back quite a ways, and producing some of the most iconic scores.
I didn't mind the score to this really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I tried it again. It still doesn't work. It's still probably my least favorite Planet of the Apes film out of them all. Personally, I doesn't land for me at all. But again though, Roddy McDowell, man, that guy is phenomenal in this. And Ledger Forever. My brother is the same. For starters, he hates The Dark Knight.
What?
He likes the Hobbit movies more than Lord of the
Wow.
Rings.
Oh my god!
And this is the one that's going to hurt a lot of people. He thinks Rise of Skywalker is the best Star Wars film.
Now those are hot takes. Ugh.
That's
Oh,
hot takes. My son really likes Rise of Skywalker, but he's 11, so he's
But
you know
he's
what I mean.
11.
He doesn't see he likes Rey. That's what he's grown up with. He's grown up with the new trilogy, right? Pretty much. Even though I've showed him all the other ones, and
Right.
I've been telling him, okay, Tyson, you got to catch up on Ahsoka, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna be good
yes.
shit. I won't say anything because I know Nick's a big Star Wars fan too, but I think I will say this, Nick. I think Disney may be turning around a bit.
Yeah, they didn't do too bad with Star Wars, I'll say. With most of the shows now, like I enjoy Mandalorian and everything, so
Yeah.
I just never got to see Ashoka yet, but
Dude, Ahsoka is so freaking good. Oh my god.
I hear good things.
It's I can't believe it. Almost feels like this direct Filoni, is it? It almost feel like he's trying to honor George Lucas the best he can. That's the best way I could describe it. And I haven't seen the Clone Wars, so a lot of the stuff that's happening, I think I'm like, was that supposed to be fucking fan service there?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, my son, we went and saw Rise of Skywalker before COVID, and he really liked that one. But that's a hot take because people hate that fucking movie. A lot of people hate that new trilogy. So so this Ledge's brother there, but they hate the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
That's actually something I can't even fucking comprehend. So
Blasphemous.
I like Batman Begins more. That's my favorite Batman movie.
That's good too, though.
To me, I think it's got the best just origin out of all the Batman movies. That's just a me thing, though. Like,
yeah, I thought that too until I rewatched it over the summer, all three of them. And I was like, "Fuck, The Dark Knight's good, man." It was really hard. You know what I mean? It was like, man, there's some great themes in this. There's some great action. But I get it because when I watch Batman Begins, I'm like, man, this is a better Batman movie. That's what it is. Dark Knight's a better movie, I think, but I think Batman Begins is a better Batman movie.
yes.
I agree.
All right. Rounding out the bottom half is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. 19 for me, 15 for Jason, and 22 for Nick.
Oh God, man! I watched this twice before my recording, and I was like, was that movie that good, or am I just smoking weed or something? Or like, and I'm going, man, this movie's good. This is a dark fucking movie. That ending's like Romero Dawn of the Dead fucking. And apparently there's an unrated version
I hear
where
that, yeah.
there's like fucking the apes' heads are exploding. There's blood everywhere, and they got fucking knives and machetes, and they're going out taking people out in this. And I'm like, now his arc from this really naive, you know, ape who just where he's telling the zookeeper kind of, don't leave me here, please don't leave me here, I can't do this, and then he goes into this when he says that speech at the end. I think we could have got to that arc better in
Right.
between,
Yeah.
but man, there are some good things to chew on in this movie, man. They really are. Like, great social commentary. I think it's a stretch, you know, all the cats and dogs are dead and we're gonna have apes as pets. I don't think that would ever happen. But I'll go along with it. And I just like what this is Caesar, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I like what Caesar does here. I really do. How he unites everyone in that big speech at the end he gives. I think was fantastic. That Roddy McDowell, man, great. This is great performance work here. Great character work in this. Great social commentary about, you know, us using, you know, these animals as slaves because they can learn at a faster rate than a dog or a cat. Was just very interesting to me, and like how things just get out of control really quick.
Yeah, I found that this one just really tied the franchise together really well. Like you said, with the Zira and Cornelius bringing this virus that killed the pets, which in turn causes the whole apes to be enslaved as pets, and actually puts things in motion. And yeah, great little origin story kind of for Caesar, and I love the whole revolution and everything. Like you said, I just feel like it was a speed run through everything. Like they didn't take time to really expand or develop a lot of these ideas, or like, all right, go point A, point B, point C, end of film. Where I think if they would have fleshed things out, this could be an amazing film. But this is number 22 on my list, but this is the first like 3.5 out of 5 movie, like, you know, like 7 out of 10. So I did really enjoy this one, and I was surprised after the first 3, and then you put this one on, like, wow, they stepped it up. So yeah.
I just love this so much because it's almost like a blueprint for Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I really enjoy a lot. Like for a while, I'll say that was my favorite Planet of the Apes. Obviously, it's changed a little bit now, but I mean, it hits the same beats pretty much for the most part. I mean, again, Roddy McDowell, we've already said it 100 times. He's fantastic in this role. I think this is his best performance out of the franchise, personally. Yeah, just that speech at the end, man. It's just like you're like, wow, like this, wow, like just it like raised it to a whole nother level, and you're like, damn. Like that's the only thing I could say at the end. Last like 10 minutes, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and I happened to find the box set on DVD. I just picked up last week. And nice. So it has a documentary added to the DVD. It's about the original franchise, so it should be fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, I love when you hear all this negativity about something and then you watch it and you're like, I really enjoyed this, man. Like I love that because I feel like it's, you know, oh, it's mine. Everyone hates it, but I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I know that feeling all too well. So where did it go? What's going on? Everything's happening here. Oh boy. We're gonna take that off for a minute. Let's see if I can find these pictures again now. Okay, here we are.
We're getting to the good stuff now.
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. So number 16 is Alien versus Predator. 13 for me, 15 for Nick, and Jason at 22. Now, you said earlier you like Requiem more than this one.
Yeah, I don't like the predators in this, man. I think they look not goofy. They look way too big. They look like they look like they're supposed to be teenagers if I'm not correct. They're like, earning their stripes, so to speak. And I think some of the action sequences are good. Um, the one shot of the alien coming down out of the little cavern, and he's holding, when they're looking at each other, and I thought that was really cool. The characters really bring this down for me, and the real polished look to it all. Um, I'm not big on this backstory of them, you know, humans prey, looking at these predators coming down, acting like they're gods to these people. Again, it just feels out of character with these beings. Personally, um, I get it. You got it. The original idea, I think, in the comics is like it's actually in the future, and they use something like an LV-426, and they drop all these alien eggs or something like that. Like that, they come across this planet where shit gets out of hand. I think that would have been better. Like I didn't. I'm not too big on this going to the Arctic and these really, again, kind of campy characters for me. The PG rating doesn't help it because it's the franchise that is built off rated R. And I think some of the practical is pretty good in it. But yeah, I like the girl teaming up with the Predator. I thought that was all pretty cool. She's not the greatest character. She's okay. You know what I mean? But yeah, I still have a good time with it though, guy. Like
Mhm.
um you watch something like Freddy versus Jason, I'll throw this on after. It's just kind of that, it's that kind of fun, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like
Popcorn
that
movie.
real
Yep.
fan service kind of fun.
Yeah, this one just came out at the right time for me, I guess. I was 13 when this came out, and I actually really loved it. I like the whole mythology. I actually really enjoy that, like with this pyramid under ice and using the humans to sacrifice so that they can fight these aliens. I thought that was a really cool idea. Yeah, the PG-13 rating would have been better if it was R rating, but you still do get a lot of green blood because they're able to do that with
Yeah.
PG-13. So the alien and the predator both don't have red blood, so it kind of worked out for them, but you don't get a lot of human carnage in here. Yeah, you get kind of generic characters and whatever, but I still enjoy it.
Lance Henriksen, man, I love him in here. He's
Yeah.
just so.
He's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's good in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know why I always enjoy like the Predator giving that girl like the alien head as like a shield and like
Yeah.
making a spear and stuff out of its tail and everything. Like I've always enjoyed that for whatever reason. It just goes a little too over the top towards the end when we get the big CGI alien queen and they're
Mm-hmm.
out actually in the Arctic and fighting. I'm just like you lost me. You were doing great with the practical effects and everything. Like the scene Jason was talking about, like I love that scene. It's just to me one of the best overall shots in either Alien or Predator, either of them franchises. I have to agree. This is just a lot of fun for me. This is just a mindless movie I could turn on and watch. Again, as it was worded perfectly, a popcorn flick. I mean,
Yeah, and that's what it is, right? And that's what this director gives you. He gives you a lot of these popcorn kind of flicks. And
yep.
I don't know, maybe and I liked it a lot more. Like I liked a lot of these movies a lot more when I first watched them.
Mm-hmm.
But the older I get, I've changed as a movie person, like what I like to see. Like I'm actually very much like Austin. I like serious movies. I like things, but you can't fight nostalgia. And I was a kid in the '80s, so there's just a lot of attachment to a lot of these movies that we'll talk about in the top 10 here. So, um, but yeah, this one's okay. It's okay. It's just not my. I I just I just prefer the darkness, the that wolf predator in Requiem.
Fair enough. Number 15 is Alien Covenant. Nick at 13, Jason at 9, and me at 27.
Now, Austin, you're speaking from. I've heard a lot of people not like this movie, and to the point where I'm like, I don't understand why. So I started reading more negative reviews, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm the weird one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, again, like my big thing I know with a lot of my films when I talked about them was CGI. Like, I don't like when they go CGI. Like, Alien is known better for its practical effects, and
I don't
as
think
some
the CGI is terrible though. It worked for me. Like when that thing came out of his back, I thought that was riveting as hell. I thought it was crafted really well. Um, and even I went and watched the whole commentary of this by Ridley Scott. I watched it again just to see his commentary, and he actually explains a lot of the decisions he made. So anybody who goes, "What? Why did he do this?" I really recommend that watching that commentary because you may hate it even more. Who knows? But one thing he didn't want though is that where the CGI was, he wanted the actors to respond to something. So he actually had to make something that was practical, but it didn't move great or nothing like that. But just so they could respond with the acting, because he's not big on seeing nothing and having them. He wants them to respond to something. So that was kind of neat. That was kind of cool. I just love David's story, man. I think David's one of the best characters in the past 20 years, along with like Caesar, who we'll talk about too. I just think I think David. I could watch 10 more movies like this with David doing this fucking horrible shit to people, and the idea of the creator and the created, and I got to destroy life and create more. I love all these concepts in both these Prometheus and this. Yeah, and even a lot of the stupid decision making doesn't really bother me too much. One thing I thought was kind of weird is that they're here to
colonize or whatever.
Colonize and everything, and Buddy has a cigarette and he's just flicking it out in the fucking like I thought that was like you're here to colonize a planet, and it's kind of symbolic of you're destroying it, right?
Yeah. Your ignorance.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The characters are just all too dumb. They all just kind of like get themselves killed. I will agree. David is probably one of like the better characters in the Alien series. Like that ending where the girl's in the pod and they're sitting there having a conversation. He's just kind of staring at her and then just goes like that. I was like, oh my god.
Now I saw that coming a mile away, and that's something Ridley Scott responds to people too. And he says, I saw, that wasn't no twist. And he goes, it wasn't supposed to be. He goes, why do you think I had two cyborgs in it? Like that was set up very early. It was obvious that was going to happen. Like Ridley Scott, at least Ridley Scott, that everyone's going to know that it wasn't really set up as a twist. It was more set up like more of a shock thing. And you're like, that's what he says anyway. He says that's why there was Walter. It was all there. Like, that twist was that exchange was going to happen. So I actually saw that coming like halfway through the movie. But it's funny how we all interpret things differently. Maybe a lot of people were surprised.
I didn't see it coming. Yeah, the first time I watched it, I remember I was like, holy shit. Like right when she's in the cryo tube or whatever, and he doesn't know about the cabin. I was like, oh, that's a cool little twist. Like, I personally didn't see it coming. Once you know, though, when you rewatch it, you see all the clues. Yeah, David, like you said, one of the more interesting characters in the whole Alien franchise.
I will defend the characters about hopping onto this planet because the captain died and they were terrified to go back into their pods. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
There was a real fear of them going back in. Maybe that works for some people. Maybe it doesn't, but it worked for me, that reasoning. Because James Franco, the little role he had, he gets burned to death, and they were terrified to go back in. That was obvious, right?
I was just going to say, Nick, speaking of that, they handled the grief really well, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, as Austin said, it was a slog to get through, and I get it. I get it, Austin. You're coming from a whole group of people who think both these movies are terrible. I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of people. I don't get it personally, and I think this is why these discussions are so fun, because we get such drastic opinions, and we're like, "Why does that work for you?" Well, this is why. Why doesn't it? Well, this is why. I like the mixture of Prometheus and an alien movie. I think it really works for me.
Yeah, to me, like, it doesn't work for me. Like, I just do one or do the other. I mean, like, Prometheus is intriguing enough. Obviously, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but, like, I would have rather just seen, like, a straightforward, alien film. But I understand, you had to continue on from Prometheus, so obviously having to add in, the things of life and wonder and all that stuff. I get why they had to put it in, but it's just,
I think it's just shitty that we're not going to get there were two more planned movies where the engineers were going to be coming looking for David, like the ones that weren't on that planet. And it was going to come to LV-426. They were actually going to bookend it into the original movie. And I'm like, fuck, man, we're not going to get that now. And it's unfortunate. But...
To Austin's defense, the CGI was my biggest probably problem with this movie.
I think that's the biggest problem with else. I think that's a problem with a lot of film now.
Yeah.
That people are having.
It's sad when CGI looked better 20 years ago than it does now, because you can tell it's fake. Yeah. That's just me, though, I guess. Number 14, Predators. Me at 11, Nick at 17, and Jason at 19. So, Jason, you must not be all too big on this, but I'm assuming you must still at least like it enough.
Oh yeah, this is even a 4 at sometimes, depending. 3.75, 4. Like I said, I don't like predators killing predators. I think it's kind of, I get it. These predators are killing the other ones. And my biggest problem with this movie is that they build up the classic Predator so much that I thought he's gonna take out these other predators, or at least one or two. And it's just so anticlimactical, this movie. And then they get this character named Roy, who just does a Dutch, puts himself with mud, kills the freaking thing, and it's over. And it's like, you just completely wasted the classic Predator. I'm like, what was he even doing there, tied up to a fucking tree? Why did you make this, let's go, the enemy of the enemy is my friend? It pisses me off, that part of the movie. And I think it would be a lot higher. But other than that, the music, in the jungle again, the characters, I think the Lawrence Fishburne character's over the top, and I think the movie slows down at that point. Like, there's a bit of a real, it slows down, but it kind of picks up again, and it's all right. I love the set design of the Predator camp.
Yeah,
the freaking skulls of things everywhere. The Predator roped on the tree, that shot of looking up at it like this, and it was really well done. And Derek Mears, who played Jason in the remake of Friday, is the classic Predator in this. But yeah, it's just that build up to again, you're building something up, and then you're wiping it out, and you're getting no it's not satisfying. It was just not satisfying.
I agree with that ending. I'm not satisfied with the ending either. It kind of builds up and then doesn't really know where to go, I find. But I do love the concept, juicy concept, bringing them on this hunting planet. That's all great. Great cast. Adrian Brody, I don't hate him. I just feel like he should have been a side character. Like, as a lead, it didn't really work as much for me.
Maybe personally. The girl would have been better as the lead.
That's what I said in my ranking. I think she would have been the better lead, personally. But yeah, I have fun with it. But I do like the Topher Grace little twist. But it doesn't make sense. I mean, everybody's bad here in some way or another. So he had to be too. He ends up being a mad doctor or whatever. But
Yeah. I like the inclusion of the predator dogs. I think those things are insanely, at least cool looking to me. I something different than just having just the standard predators here.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the he's considered like a berserker predator. I guess that's the main one with like the creepy looking face. But I liked him quite a bit. Not my favorite predator out of the entire series personally, but I I like this a lot more than I did. Like I used to just not be the biggest fan of this, but I don't know. This past time, man, I really like it. It's my second favorite Predator movie out of the entire series, and I don't know it works better for me in here. I guess too. I don't know if you guys caught. There's a little Easter egg in Predators from the original one. The first guy who gets shot in the head with the plasma rifle. Apparently, his skull and his spine they're on that planet.
oh yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
I
know.
didn't pick that up.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
didn't.
Mac? When Mac gets his skull incinerated?
Blast it
Yeah,
off. And
yeah. It's a blink and you'll miss type of thing.
It's certainly not a bad movie. It's just really that third act
hmm.
where I start because even when the classic he's putting his helmet on and the music like dun, he's got his classic music, the Predator music going on. It's like, oh, he's gonna unleash hell, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, right, great, gets killed.
Well, for the Predator movies, this one and AVP kind of flip flop for me a lot.
Okay. So now we are at Prometheus for number 13. I had this at 21, Nick at 14, and Jason had this at 11.
Yeah, I think this is gold sci-fi. I just love all the I love all the questions and everything in it. I like Shaw. I think Shaw is a really good. Her husband's a fucking dickhead, just a douchebag, but kind of a big fucking baby in it personally. So that's the one character I just like this guy. And a lot of the things I think that people complain about, a lot of unanswered questions. You could say that about the original Alien. If you just saw the original Alien, that's it. You're asking the same shit. Where'd these things come from? Why is that ship there? Who's that person in that ship? Like, it's because this is a first movie, and unfortunately, we're not going to see the everything that's they set up, right? That's my opinion personally. But I love the big questions, the faith versus science, and all the juicy stuff that this movie tackles. I had to watch it twice because it's got deep themes, and I like the engineers. I like the idea of the you know creation and the creator, and it's just fascinating for me. I just like that kind of stuff, and maybe it wasn't originally designed as an alien movie. Maybe it was just supposed to be a Ridley Scott science fiction film, and maybe that would have worked for people better if that's all it was. Changed. Obviously, you had to change things around and everything like that. But
I think
I,
so. I think it would have did better.
yeah, but I think it's got a great cast too.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my biggest problem is I felt like this was just supposed to be some kind of just new standard sci-fi movie, and they were like, you know what? I think we can make a couple of more alien films out of this. So why don't throw some alien stuff in there? Let's try it out. And
Yeah, it's yeah. I could see that. I could see that, but it's almost looks very similar to Alien, doesn't it? It's just with all these other questions and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. But
I think the themes and the social commentary in that is the best part for me, and some great, like you said, sci-fi action in here. And
cinematography, fucking
yeah,
just
beautiful. This and
fucking
Covenant.
guy knows how to direct a film, man. Like
I feel like Covenant made this movie stronger because I don't know, it just built it up better as an Alien, a part of the Alien franchise. Personally, I have a good time with it. I like the question it asks and stuff. David's a great character. I just don't like the character decisions half the time. I feel like they're very dumb. touching black goo, going up to that worm thing and be like, ooh, and running straight when the spaceship's falling. Just little things like that. But yeah, I still have a good enough time. Obviously, I have it at 14. So aside from that, I like it.
I love that part David says, and he goes, why or the husband's upset they didn't get the, why didn't he, why don't they care about us or something like that? Why won't they tell us about these engineers? And David's like, well, how disappointed do you think I'd be?
Right.
That why'd you create me? Because we could. Well, how do you think that makes me feel? Essentially, he says, and I thought that was just awesome. Like that, it's just fascinating where this character was going with creating life. His like this desire to create life, right?
Yeah, I just feel like if they wouldn't have tied in a lot of alien stuff into it, honestly, this would probably be like at least a 4, maybe even a 4.5 star for me. But I don't know, just the fact that this is supposed to be kind of the beginning of Alien, I just doesn't entirely work for me. Like I said, I just feel like they threw it in just so they could keep making some more Alien films. I can willingly say though, I am looking forward next year to Alien Romulus that's supposed to be coming out, and even the Alien TV series. Like
and the what's his name? The guy who did Chappie in District 9 and
Oh yeah, the guy just did the new Gran Turismo there.
He's supposed to be doing a sequel to the original RoboCop movie. That's supposed to be
because he wanted. That's kind of like Chappie, what he wanted to do, kind of.
Yeah, he's got a big love for RoboCop, and I'm like, him doing RoboCop, like a sequel to that movie. I'd be down for that.
Is it Neil Blomkamp?
Yeah, that's it. Neil Blomkamp. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why. I was like, that doesn't sound right, but whatever. I'm just gonna say it anyway.
I'll just quickly add the incubation scene or whatever, not incubation, the C-section scene or whatever in this movie is friggin' awesome.
Yeah, that was great, man.
That's my favorite scene of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's sweating and everything. She's tearing up and she's running.
So tense.
Yeah, I like it, man. It fucking works for me.
Even with her still in the pod and it's like freaking out and stuff, you're just like, oh my god, hurry up, get out, come on. Yeah.
Just think if this was the first one he made in '79, how fucked up that would have been.
That would have been crazy back then because it wasn't much like that.
So number 12 is Terminator Salvation. Jason 14, me at 10. Nick, you had this at number 20.
I'll have to admit here, I'll admit that, Austin, I'm glad you had this high because I like this movie and I don't get a lot of the hate for it. But it's not really hated. It's just forgettable, I guess, for a lot of people. But Nick, number 20, buddy, I gotta know.
Like, I still enjoy it. Like I said, it's like a 7 out of 10 for me. But yeah, that's exactly what it is for me. It's kind of forgettable. The action's good. Christian Bale still kind of stuck in Batman voice here after Batman Begins, and they had to rewrite the script for him after he joined, and I think that kind of hurt probably the Kyle Reese scenes maybe. I wish we would have got more Kyle Reese scenes with him to show that the bond that they would have formed. But like you mentioned, Jason, in your reviews, and that like perhaps that was what they were planning with the sequels. That's what's so bad about all these Terminator movies is they're always planning on having sequels, so you never really get to see what the idea is.
I feel like even especially now, fans are ruining planned sequels.
Right.
Because there's so much toxicity. That fucking sucked. Well, let's have the trilogy play out. Like, let's let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like, nope, that no one liked it, didn't make money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's like this could have been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I do really love the Marcus character. Like I said earlier, these hybrid characters where they're part machine, part human, the cyborgs, like those, you never really know what their intentions are. I like the whole twist that how he was being used the whole time. A decent film. I enjoy it enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's I look at him as he's like a very pivotal character, but like nobody ever talks about him. Like 'cause he's technically considered the first infiltration Terminator, which
It's kind of
I
like,
really
yeah,
like.
it's like the prototype of the T-800. He's the prototype of it all, like the concept of it.
Like sneaking in, right?
And as far as from what I've watched other reviews, if I remember correctly, because I did see this at the theater, they gave away the Marcus twist in the trailer.
Yep.
That was
Terrible.
and like, what are you doing? Like that was supposed to be a surprise, right? So if you've never seen the trailer, maybe this movie works for you. But I appreciate all the practical effects work they did in this. Well, like when that T is crawling on the ground, at the beginning of the movie, that was not CGI. That was it didn't look CGI anyway. And at the end there was some good practical work there. I'm not talking about the Arnold. After the Arnold thing gets all burned off, his skin, there's a lot of good practical work they did. And I think McGee should deserve some credit here because I think he captures the world. It's obviously not exactly Cameron's world, but it does have that grime grit to it. It's very desaturated, the whole film. Not a lot of color to it, which I really like. I like when he's doing Connor setting up a trap and they got Guns N' Roses playing to tie into John Connor as a kid. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a little remember who this is, right? Remember who this is. Although as much as I like it, I do think John Connor in this is, to me, I don't visualize John Connor as that serious of a character. There should have been a little bit of that Edward Furlong in him, a little bit of that humor to him still. I mean, he's the leader of the resistance, yes, but don't make him so cookie cutter. You know what I mean? Make him. Let's connect to Edward Furlong a bit. Make him have things that we could have related to. And same with Kyle Reese. I felt like he was not completely the character that. I know he's younger and everything like that, but again, maybe we would have saw the growth,
right?
The second movie and the third movie.
I love that Native American chick too that was in here.
Yeah.
Can't remember her name, but she was a great
Moon Blood something.
Yeah, she was a great side character.
Yeah, and again, just as an action film, great action sequences in this.
Well, the scene too with like the Marcus character, I mean, like even the things he teaches Kyle Reese, I mean, it's all things we obviously see in that first Terminator film. So
throwbacks, yeah.
So that's another reason why I really like his character. The second act, I hate John Connor. That whole second act up until like he actually lets Marcus go. I don't like him at all in that second act. He's just unlikable. His decisions are just based on oh yeah, you're a Terminator, so. I'm not going to do this with you.
Yeah, I don't think John would be that heartless to Terminators either. Because if you look, Uncle Bob was a big thing in his life. And I think he just would have understood what it was, that it's a machine. So I agree. Like, I think Christian Bale was characterized wrong. John Connor, he was characterized a bit wrong. Things I would have tweaked in there a lot more. But other than that, man, like I think it's a great flick. It's one of my favorites. I think it's my third favorite when I ranked them originally. Terminator movie. So
yeah, I think I want to say it's like my fourth favorite if I remember right. Like it's a film I definitely really enjoy. Like honestly, I think you can even watch this as like a straight sci-fi war film in some ways. Like. In some ways, I can kind of compare it to Rogue One. Like, even if you're just, enough about Star Wars, you could just watch that as, like, its own sci-fi war movie, and it's just got some Star Wars stuff.
That's my second favorite Star Wars movie.
It's a good movie, man.
I love Rogue One, man. Love it.
It's my fourth favorite. I think it's more of the casual fan Star Wars film. Like, really good still. Does a lot of things just like this. Like, again, I think as long as you know enough about the Terminator series, I think you can just go into this and just have a good time watching just a good sci-fi action flick. But again, that's just my opinion on that.
Still think Rogue One's better though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So number
Ooh.
11 is Predator 2. I had this at number 20, Nick at 11, and Jason at 10.
Yeah, I love this movie, man. This movie's fucking awesome. The concrete jungle, man. I think there's things in this movie that well, one thing they do, they don't reestablish the Predator. They assume you've seen the first movie, you know what this thing's all about, which is good. That's what you should have done. I love the 90s feel to this, that Lethal Weapon style,
Yeah.
Kind of. So the way this movie starts off is this fucking chaos, man. It's just awesome. And you've seen Danny Glover coming in, taking care of business. The Predator, they build upon him a bit. Like when he, that scene where Danny Glover is mourning his friend. He sees the necklace. And the Predator's essentially giving it back to him. And is not engaging with him at all. He sees, I think he sees, there's respect there. There's a fellow hunter almost. This is a worthy adversary and stuff like that. But the only stupid decision this Predator's I don't really like is when he's on the building and then he goes, oh, time to check out, time to blow myself up. Meanwhile, like my wife pointed this out, he could have easily pulled himself up because Danny Glover's scared of heights. Like this thing's huge. It has muscle mass. It could have pulled itself up on that building, no problem. That's the only kind of dumb part of the fucking movie. Like I'm like, what are you doing? Check it out already. And it's just designed to cut his arm off. That's all it's for, really. But I think the characters are great in this. I love the action all through it. I love the Predator scenes in this, man. When I was a kid, when he throws that
spinning
blade and it cuts all the cattle down, and I love this movie, man. I think it's great. It's my second favorite Predator movie.
I think it's a lot of fun too. I have a lot of nostalgia for it though too. I watched 1 and 2 a lot as a kid. I like how the Predator has all these new weapons, like the spear, that blade, like all the different things like that. It was pretty cool. The first half, the pacing's a little slower, but once we get to the second half, it just nonstop goes. Especially once we get to like where the cattle is there with Gary Busey. Gary Busey's so fun in this. Like I love his character. He's so over the top and just fun to watch. And that whole ending where they get to the spaceship is cool too. I find where he has to fight the Predator and then all the other ones come out and you're like, oh shit, you think he's gonna get slaughtered, but no, they respect him and they give him that gun that we see back in Prey.
That's you look at the ship in Predator 2, compare it to the ship in the beginning of the Predator, you're like, what the fuck is this? Right? It looks like that's like something Caleb said on I was on a watch along with them for the Predator, and they made a good point. It's very Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel like in a Predator movie. Whereas Predator 2, you got the mist and the smoke and the all the things they've hunted and it's
you see the alien for the first time on the wall.
You feel all the atmosphere. That's what it is. You feel everything. And I dig this fucking movie, man. Especially Bill Paxton playing another great character he plays in this. And where he gets his spine ripped out and he chucks him on the tracks where Danny Glover sees him do this. It's like it's
Bill Paxton and three movies on this list.
Yeah.
And gets killed all 3 times.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
He's in the Terminator and Aliens, and then he's in this.
Yeah.
If only we could have seen him in the other 2 franchises.
Imagine.
It's a guy who's just gone too soon, man.
Definitely.
Way too soon. All right, guys, we're here at the top 10, and as you guys worded, I mean, this is probably the more stacked part of this ranking.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this was probably the hardest part for me for the ranking was heading into the top 10, and obviously my hardest was number 1 and number 2. So, but obviously we're going to get to those in a little bit. So number 10 is the original RoboCop. Jason 13, Nick at 10, and me at 12.
Yeah,
I
we're
got
all
it.
pretty squared away on this one.
I got it right. No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, this film just shocked me when I saw it because, like, I don't know why. I was always under the impression this was like a kids' movie kind of thing.
Right.
And then I hear them start like, talking, and then we get to the scene where RoboCop is like blown apart. I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely not for kids. Like, wow. And then I just throughout the film, I really enjoyed it, man. I love Kurtwood Smith. Like, he's probably the best villain in this series for me. I mean,
Easily,
he was the best part of the film for me because, man, that 70s show is my favorite TV show of all time.
Oh, he's having so much fucking fun. Can you fly, Bobby? Just give me my fucking phone call. It's like, he's so unapologetically bad.
Right.
And it reminds me of The Crow. Like, The Crow has such great villains. And these do too. A lot of them are memorable. But obviously Kurtwood Smith being the one that's the most memorable. But yeah, man, he's just bad in this, man.
You also get Connell Cochran from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch in here as well. So
True,
like that just adds a little bit more for me there. Yeah, man, just the practical effects with like the gore and everything. I was in just shock at how much I liked this because I went into this and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna like any of these films. And obviously this is the one I came out liking the most, and obviously the remake was right behind it. But yeah, man, this is a great, again, surprising film for me. I definitely had a lot of fun going back and rewatching this, and definitely one at some point I'd like to add to my collection.
Yeah, you definitely kind of forget how ultra violent it is.
Yeah, me and when I was a teenager, we're talking early 90s, like freaking 94, 95, 96, 97. Me and my buddies would get together Friday nights and we'd watch RoboCop. It was something we The Crow and RoboCop, we'd watch this fucking over and over, and we could quote this whole movie. And it's the only thing is that with Lewis, again, she should have been built up a lot more because she made the call to go into this building that got him killed, and I think there would have been an extreme amount of guilt with her. And her having a conversation with his wife, I think, was needed. That would have been a very, and it wouldn't have took away from the movie that long. They could have done something very small, and, where she feels that guilt. And I've always wondered why they never made her into a RoboCop, and it was both of them, because she didn't seem like to have any other life than police work. But I think she should have been utilized a lot more, this character.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is rich with themes and social commentary, just like Planet of the Apes. This making a company run public sectors is never a good idea, and having AI and all this stuff, all the dangers that come with it. Even RoboCop, it could have some malfunctions or whatever. You don't want a cop like that on the front lines. But yeah, it's ultra violent. It's one of the best villains ever. It's funny, we have Red Foreman here. We had Eric in Predators.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does surprise you.
I really like the Frankenstein theme in it too, with the where someone who's been stitched back together and he doesn't know where he fits in and stuff like that.
Right.
I love the story of Frankenstein. So whenever I see something they grab on, let's tell a little bit of Frankenstein in here, and I just love that. So,
like Frankenstein, that religious aspect. There's like different things. There's so much here to unpack.
Yeah. And it's called RoboCop. Like, it seems silly. Even the writers were like they couldn't sell this because they said, I'm not making a movie called RoboCop. Like,
it does sound like it's for kids, like the name.
Yeah, but the title stuck. That's what it had to be called. Now, in saying that, I've seen some debates on RoboCop versus Terminator, like the original Terminator. this movie is not even the same fucking league as the original Terminator. Not even close. So in fact, when I was going to do a versus, I would have never put those two against each other because Terminator wins every round. It's not even a competition. But this is a great movie.
Right.
I do like it.
I would highly agree. Yeah, going up
Same.
against Terminator, like, oh boy, because there's a comic book series, isn't there, with RoboCop versus the Terminator?
Oh, I'm sure.
The RoboCop's not even a match that way against the Terminator. It wouldn't even be close. Like,
No.
fuck.
He gets slaughtered all over again. Oh my god, I did it again. What the heck? Well, let's see here. Where's my number 9?
But we did put RoboCop against Terminator in this ranking.
It was a very, very clear winner there.
Yeah.
All right, number 9 is
Oh.
Prey. I had this at 8, Nick at 7, and Jason at 12. I will be straight up honest before we even get to the next one, because I already know what the next one is. This is my favorite Predator movie. For me, it works the best. I love the more grounded story with this version of the Predator. Like, he doesn't have all the advanced technology that we're so used to seeing with, the bombs and, the proton packs and everything. Like, it's more melee weapons that he has, as well as, still has the invisibility cloak, obviously, but, I like Naru. I honestly think that she's probably, again, my personal opinion, my favorite final, whatever you want to say, victim, foe against the Predator. My favorite look of the Predator is in this film as well.
Really?
Yes,
Cool.
I actually really like the look of it.
I haven't come around to this look of this Predator. It's one of the things I'm not big on is his look.
I just think it's different and unique. I think that's why I
True.
like it probably a little more.
I think I'll come around with it. Like, this is actually the only movie I didn't rewatch for the recording.
Oh,
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it's not gonna. It may go up. It may beat Predator 2 from time, but it won't beat the original.
yeah.
But I don't get me wrong. 12. I still like this movie. I really like this movie. I remember when it come out, and that like all of us were. I think a lot of us had it written off. We thought we were going to get Pocahontas with the Predator,
Mhm.
and it wasn't like that. They actually took the material serious. There's some fan service that's kind of annoying in it. Like, if it bleeds, we can kill. It's like, why you doing that? It doesn't need to be in there. It has no relevance really, in this story. But some of the, when he's killing all the soldiers in the fog.
The forest, yes.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mhm.
And I do like Naru. I think she's a cool character. She's got a good arc, and all that kind of stuff. There is some CGI in here every now and then. I just wish we could have got some of that classic Predator score, but done in a tribal way, like done in a traditional like reworked. I think, but not that I do not like the music. I do like the music. I think it has a really good Western feel to this flick. Really nice wide shots and everything like that. And I think it's a surprise to a lot of people, this movie.
Mhm.
And it's more of the concept they did. Like, what if the Predator went against this? Now people are talking about, let's take him, put him against the samurai. Let's take him back to the Viking times. Let's take him back. Like, it's all these what if scenarios, right?
World War II.
Mhm.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I can't praise this movie enough. I'm sad to have to have it at number 7. I wanted higher, but we have too good of a top 5 up there. Yeah, I watched this movie like 7 times already. I absolutely love it. I in the first week I watched like 4 times. Love Naru with her dog. Love the new Predator with his gadgets. Like you said, it's a little more. It takes a step back, so when they fight these natives, it makes more sense. These Comanche tribe. Love the hunting aspect, like how he doesn't know who's higher on the food chain, and he starts off with snake and wolf. That wolf fight, I freaking love. The grizzly fight, obviously really cool too. How he killing it and the blood goes all over him when he's invisible and you can see him. It's very cool. My only nitpick with this film is the way she defeats the Predator, the way she uses his helmet against him.
Mhm.
He fell for it earlier in the film where his helmet was knocked off and he starts shooting, and he should know his own weapons. That's the only thing that keeps this from a 10 for me. This is a 9.5. But aside from that ending, I absolutely loved it. Love everything about it.
Well, the dialogue too, man. Like, I don't know. Like, some of it just seems so like modern. It doesn't seem like how these guys would actually talk.
Yeah, that's another thing. They need, if they're making a traditional movie like that, like what do you call it? A period piece. They could have done a better job with that.
Mhm.
There's also a Comanche cut where like they actually talk in the
Right,
Comanche
yeah.
language and stuff. So I might need to sit down and watch that version, see if that's a little bit better. Who knows? Maybe it would jump higher on my list here. But yeah, like I said, I know it's unpopular, man, but this is my favorite Predator movie.
Yeah, my number 2.
Which now we get into the big topic here, which Jason, I know this is probably the one that makes you the most mad.
Not mad, just I don't get it. That's all.
Okay.
No, I understand your point of view. I watched your video. I watched it, and I get it. I get how you may think that you think it's like campy and cheesy, campy characters. But there's John McTiernan is really gifted at taking different tones
Mhm.
and weaving them in and out. That's flawless. Like, yes, it starts off as an 80s over the top cheesy movie, but there's a point in the movie where it stops being that and it turns really serious. Like the moment they know they're in trouble, like after Blaine dies, or even after Hawkins, there's not too many cracking jokes, hardly at all. These dudes are they're actually terrified. These like big macho freaking men, and they're terrified at one point. And I like the way Dutch uses his brains over his brawn at the end of the day. But what can I say? I love all the masculinity. I think it's absolutely fucking fantastic. For me, that just fucking, I love it. I love it, man. I look at my kids or this generation. They look at all these superhero movies. These guys were my superheroes.
Mhm.
Like I could remember watching this at 8 years old and going out to I want to be like freaking Dutch, freaking. I want to be big and manly and freaking smoke cigars and and maybe it's just my age, maybe it's just the time I grew up in, but I get it. I get that, and what they did in the Predator, trying to make all that dialogue was just atrocious. Where this felt more natural, like the way these guys would actually talk to each other. You know what I mean? And yeah, I loved it. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not just in the Predator, like of all time. I love this movie.
Yep. When I heard you say that, my first thought was, "Ooh, he's going to be upset." Oh boy.
It's 7. Yeah, I could understand 12, 14, but I was like 17.
And especially with what I put above that too, I was like, "Oh man, if that didn't push a button, this next one's definitely going to." Yeah, I don't know, man. The first time I watched this, it was like easily a 4-star film for me. But I don't know. Every time I rewatch it now, it just keeps dropping. I don't know if it's just the mood I'm in or if I'm just taking it differently than everybody else. But like I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I like the action. I like the gore and I like the look of the Predator. But I don't know. There's just times, man. Just Arnold. He's too much for me. I'm like,
yeah, I think he's more. I think this is his most grounded character, other than the T-800 in the first Terminator.
mhm.
I actually think his acting is quite good in it, like for Arnold. Like other than the stick around and the freaking, all that kind of stuff. But when he's actually in character, I see Dutch in this. Like it's one of these times I don't see as much Arnold. I see a guy who's leading this group, he's he's a major, and um he's got the muscles and everything. He's like the guy. This is not the character in Commando. This is not John Matrix. This is completely different. This is a bit more grounded character who has that masculinity and all that confidence and all that, that 80s male kind of thing, but he's not going around calling people's pussies and wimps and stuff like that. He's very much like, about my team, and I'm very much like, you know, he's he's terrified. He really shows like that one part where he gets up and he goes, "Dylan, you better get on the radio. Mac, Sergeant!" Like he's pulling everyone together, and apparently he really worked on his performance in this too. Like even from Carl Weathers, he was getting advice. Carl Weathers really helped him flesh the character out and worked with him and stuff like that. And so when you say Arnold's too much for me, I could see that about Commando or something like that, but not about this character. I love this character. One of my favorite Arnold characters.
Yeah, I love Predator. Yeah, one of the best creature designs, I think, up there with Alien, with the Xenomorph. Both of them for cinema history, I think, are the two greatest. Love how the styles change throughout the film. Goes from action movie slowly into this almost horror type film with the Predator picking them off one by one. Great cast. And I always say, like from Sunny in Philly, body mass alone, Predator is a way better movie than Transporter 2. But I mean, but yeah, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, Arnold. And this is honestly one of the only Arnold movies I don't see as an Arnold movie because everybody's so great. And I think it gives a good performance. And yeah, I just freaking love the movie, love the concept, love everything about it.
And like I said, too, watching this at 8 years old, I never saw anything like this before.
Yeah, same. I watched it back then too.
My dad never saw anything like this before. We watched this when it come out on video, and then he showed it to my grandfather, and we were just like, it was just a movie that was so different. It's so unique.
So, yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia for it too, personally.
Maybe I'll come around to it one day. I don't know. But,
I can get it. I get that this could be outdated for people or whatnot, but
it's definitely, it depends. I don't know. It depends how much you. I mean, for me, this is men's men here, and even there's even something for the ladies when all their shirts are off. So that's what my wife says, anyways. Even something for us. Even my wife loves this fucking movie. She thinks it's great.
That's awesome, at least. So, guys, we are now getting into the next three, and the next three are honestly, for a lot of people, considered one of the greatest trilogies of all time. So, obviously, we all probably had some different places on them, but up next for number 7 is War for the Planet of the Apes. I had this, me and Jason both had this at 6, and Nick had this at 9.
Still reached my top 10. Solid friggin' movie. Great way to end this trilogy. I like how Caesar is questioning himself even at this point. Everything he stood for before, he's not sure if that's the direction he wants to go in after seeing what the humans are like and, losing his family. And him taking on this little girl kind of reminds him what his mission is, really. And yeah, I just love the villain of
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, yeah. And I think you understand where he's coming from when he gives his side of the story. And just saw like it resembles almost like the Holocaust, how they have all the apes in the fenced-in areas and that, and how they're treated is real interesting. And the big battle at the end is fun to watch too. Definitely not a bad movie. A 4-star film easily for me.
Yeah, what a way to wrap this thing up. This was 3-dimensional characters. You're caring more about the apes than you do the humans half the time.
True.
And just there was the the last time I watched this, like when I was going through these in this like earlier in the summer, like in August, there was 2 times in this movie where I was swelling up with and I'm not a crier at all. Like there's only a few movies that really do that, and it almost did it twice to me. Once was the ending with Caesar,
Hmm.
obvious reasons, him dying, but when Luke the gorilla dies, and then Nova comes over, the little girl, and you just see her bawling, and it's like this little girl is humans crying over this ape, and it's just like, and the look on Caesar's face, and Buddy Maurice is like, um, this has got to stop, Caesar. Like this relate, you could relate, and it just you just get a lot of chill bumps from that scene, and having in winter, the cold of this movie really plays into the atmosphere,
True.
and
Yeah.
it's an internal struggle. The war of I think people expected a war movie, but it's Caesar's personal war. It's the
Hmm.
war inside himself, and the score, that little piano, dun 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 dun, beautiful music going through this thing, like the real soft, melancholy kind of music.
Hmm.
And even at the end, the slow mo where the traitor there, and the human just shoots the ape, and he ends up saving Caesar, and Caesar gets out of there. Great stuff in this, man. This is some Spartacus, some Ben-Hur, some Great Escape. It has a lot of those classic war movie um things. Great cast in it too, and man, this movie's so good. It's my favorite trilogy of all time. I'll say that right now. Like even easily, like I love this trilogy so much.
Man, I mean, Andy Serkis. I mean, to me,
Oh,
this is the best character he's ever played on screen. Like,
he should have got an Oscar for one of these movies.
yeah, I can't believe he never got nominated. Like,
I
that's
don't think
just
they nominate. Oh, maybe that should be a new
Because it's CGI or.
the CGI now. Maybe that's a one they got to add, like a motion capture
Yeah.
best actor award, because he's acting. I watched
Mhm.
all of the behind the scenes, the documentaries on the Blu-rays. He is acting, man. These guys are
Mhm.
they're in motion capture, but they're sitting there like he's in character, man. Right? And
Mhm.
even the guy playing Koba, you see him going, Caesar! Like he's actually doing that. And people seem to forget, right? It's the technology is relying on the actor, the performance.
Mhm.
It's not the other way around.
Yeah, at least they have the suit and that, like, and it's not just all digital, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. I would agree though. Like this, to me, it's like it's so close to being a 5-star film for me. Like it's seriously like that close. Like I really like this film. I just wish they did a little more with the girl. And I know next year too, there's going to be another new Planet of the Apes. We're getting Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, continuation of this trilogy.
Now, I have read that it is following Matt Reeves's vision.
Hmm.
He's not part of it or nothing like that anymore, but it's where he wanted it to go, as far
Which is
as
nice.
which is nice, I think. Instead of like, let's play in the same sandbox, because honestly, guys, we could have 20 more movies and we can go right into when the what's his name, Charlton Heston's character
To the future, yeah.
shows up. Like we could see a whole society with each passing trilogy, if that's the way they're going to do it. With each, you're seeing a generation of apes, generation of apes, generation. This thing could go on for a long time.
Mhm.
Like hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next year's gonna be a good. It'll be my if I'm gonna go to it. It's gonna be my first Planet of the Apes film in theaters.
Oh god,
I'm
I
excited.
saw all these in the theater. The wife and I were never missing them.
Yeah, I need to go back and I every time I think about these films, man, I always want to go back and rewatch them because they're that good. So number 6, just coming right above War for the Planet of the Apes, is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Me and Jason at 7 and Nick at 6.
Mhm. I always had a personal love for this movie. My favorite Planet of the Apes movie. Great origin story. It really makes you root for them. Like, you're really against the humans halfway through this movie when they're all caged up and being treated like shit. And you're just rooting for Caesar to turn the tide. And, his whole plan's awesome. How he gets all the apes to understand him and, gives them the drug eventually or whatever makes their eyes green, makes them smart. And just his whole venture out of there onto the bridge is so epic. I love that. And there's an emotional punch to this too. Even when the gorilla dies, you're like, oh shit, man. Like, they actually made you care about him. And yeah, it's friggin' awesome movie. And you really see in this one where you see where Koba comes from later in Dawn, right?
Mhm.
I just think it's underrated in the trilogy.
And again, there's a lot of social commentary, animal cruelty,
Right.
playing God, how we and uh watching this now and the end of this movie, with the disease getting out and the pilot, when living through COVID and everything, this movie's more relatable than ever.
Right.
Right? And there's a lot of homages to the original Planet of the Apes. Like, you see a newspaper drop and it's the astronauts have already left.
Left, yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool the beginning, where they got the grill, they're getting all the chimpanzees in nets and everything, just like they do in the original with the humans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I love this world. I just really love the world of Planet of the Apes. And like we were talking about with Conquest, right? How I said that journey's not really as good. This journey's good, where you
Right.
see him as this innocent being raised by humans, and he gets to be Caesar gets to be a teenager, and he just starts questioning, like, am I a pet? Like, what am I? How do I
Mm-hmm.
fit in? And he goes on a real growth, you know what I mean? And this becomes this leader leading these apes, makes them smart, because when Maurice says something, dumb ape.
Yeah.
And you get like Maurice, Rocket, and Caesar. They're the original. It's so full of great characters.
Mm-hmm.
I was even surprised too, man. Like when I heard James Franco was going to be in this, like I was like, oh, okay. But to me, he's one of the better characters, like human characters, I guess, in the series. I mean, I love his relationship
Yeah,
with Caesar.
that's one thing I would say. I think we should have got in Dawn. We should have got something their last goodbye or something, or
Right.
maybe James Franco started getting sick and Caesar went and saw him, or I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. It's maybe some kind of, not that it doesn't have no bearing on anything. I think that just would have been a nice. We kind of get it though, eh? When he picks up the video camera and
Mm-hmm.
he sees them and kind of has that smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when they're back in their old house and stuff, and he's
Yeah.
just reminiscing about everything. Like, it's a
But yeah,
power-
that made me think of it when you said James Franco, how good he is in this.
Mm-hmm. Second James Franco movie in this list. Surprisingly.
we even get Draco Malfoy in here too.
Yeah. And John Lithgow.
Oh yes, yes.
Great actor, man.
Mm-hmm.
Great in this. He's great in this.
Really, with the dementia and that.
Well, and then as we have it rated as the best Planet of the Apes is Dawn. Jason at 4, Nick at 8, and me at 5.
Yeah, I love this fucking movie, man. I watched this one twice preparing for this. I got into a real apes mood. I'm not gonna lie. You put me in a real fucking apes mood that is I'm like, man, I love these movies. And this one has so much to say too. The struggle between, how easily a war could start. Like, just by
Mm,
this dude who shoots these apes out of fear, and also something to say about gun control.
Mhm.
There's a little Matt Reeves put that in there, but he doesn't cram it down your throat either.
right, it's
It
subtle.
was something that it's very subtle, beautifully directed film, and the production design. If you watch the behind the scenes, they made a lot of the sets and everything, but a lot of it was filmed on location. But the sets they made, the production designer made it out of all real materials, which I thought was impressive. It was very impressive. I was like, man, we got to give it to the production designer on this one. And just seeing, the lives of the apes, the lives of the humans, what the humans need to survive, how they can come. There's one point where you think, wow, they can coexist with each other.
Mhm.
Then it just can't happen. After, there's too much this hatred Koba has and the hatred the humans have too. That one guy, like I was saying, the one guy who's blaming uh this virus or whatever all on the apes when the apes had nothing to do with it, right? They were just like
Mm,
guinea pigs, they were lab experiments. And yeah, man, this is such a great flick. Beautifully
mhm.
shot, beautifully acted. I can't say enough about this one. This is just an amazing movie.
It's ironic that the war essentially starts over fear of each other, right?
Yeah.
Both sides. And you see where Koba's coming from. Like I said, after all the things he's been through, he looks at Caesar and thinks that he's putting them in danger. So that makes for a great villain when you see where they're coming from, right? You know their motives. And yeah, the movie's great. Like I said, great cinematography, great sets. They upped the digital effects to mint condition, I think, in this one compared to
Oh
the
yeah,
first one.
the performances too. They're
Great,
all
great.
great. Like
I just love
this is
seeing monkeys running around with like AK-47s shooting off, and
yeah,
that's
that
just so
was
fun.
this is the empire of this series. I
Mhm,
mean, it has a dark ending, the way sequels should. Um, it builds upon everything. It has a great opening, man, where
I love
they
the
see his
opening.
face when he's like this
mhm.
with Caesar. And Caesar's grown so much, man. And it's been 10 years, but he's like a king, man. Like
And even the relationship he has with Jason Clark, like slowly, like getting that trust between the two and them trying to coexist and everything. It's just some powerful stuff in this film. I think
Mhm,
it just does the best out of the trilogy. I think it does the best out of the entire Planet of the Apes trilogy or the
yeah.
saga, whatever you want to call it, I guess.
And it wraps it up into a nice blockbuster film. You know what I mean? It's if you just want to go for a good time at the movies, it has that for you too.
mhm. Yeah, it's an
And,
easy watch.
and an epic ending fight as well. Like that fight
Oh,
Mhm,
between him and Koba is just
it has
brutal.
emotion. It's built up. The thing, everything. Matt Reeves is this. He's become one of my favorite directors. It just
mhm,
you. This is a guy you give. This is a guy you give franchises to. Like what he's doing with Batman now. He's involved in everything
mhm.
with the new Batman lore. This is a guy you give a friend. Like if you were gonna redo like bring Terminator back on track, you give it to a guy like this. You know what I mean?
I like to
Right.
see his
Now, I'm
interpretation.
not I'm not saying Terminator specifically to him, but I'm just
Mhm,
saying he's that kind of director where and he lingers on moments. He doesn't rush through these moments, all the emotional moments. He lingers with them. Really get you the feel everything.
Again, I'm surprised with how many actors are overlapping in these franchises with Jason Clark.
Yeah.
So if you had to give Matt Reeves one of any of the other series in this ranking, which one would you give him? I could see him doing Alien.
Yeah. I mean, he's you know what? I'll say it like Terminator, man. He knows how to he focuses on character, emotion, and he
Mhm.
knows how to do gritty movies. Like
Gritty
that new
yet
Bat
somehow grounded at the same time.
and it
Yeah.
give you a blockbuster. That's what
Mhm,
Terminator needs. Terminator needs to come back to our rating. It needs to come back to its low budget feel. Not that these movies are low budget, they're not, but I think Matt Reeves could do anything at this point. I trust him with anything. So um yeah, it's he's just really good with storytelling.
All right, number 4 is the original Alien. Me and Nick both had this at 4. You had this at number 8, Jason.
Yeah, it's just there's so much better movies ahead of it. I admittedly think this movie does get slow. It is a slow movie, but it's good that way though. Designed that way. Um, and I just like. I mean, this is a. I think I got this at a 4.5 stars on my letterbox.
Yep.
Like it's a great fucking movie. I'm not gonna dispute that at all. I'm more of an Aliens fan, as we'll see, but I love this movie, man. I think it's great. I love what they do with Ripley. Um, I just love the whole mystery behind it, the slow moving camera, the suspense.
Mhm.
It's handled really well in this, man. I like how they're these blue collar truck drivers in space, kind of. You know what I mean? I really like that about them. And yeah, I mean that iconic xenomorph, not xenomorph, but face hugger coming out of the John Hurt. I mean, that's still incredible to watch.
Mhm.
It looks kind of dated when it slides across the floor, but
Right.
other than that, it looks incredible. Um, and I love the moment where Ripley is finally alone. Everyone's killed off. That's like shit. Damn, this is scary.
Mhm.
And you know at the end there where the alien's kind of sleeping, she doesn't realize it's there because it's not moving. She
Mhm.
notices it and then it's still sitting there. My wife and I were talking. I go, "Is that alien fucking sleeping?" Because it looks like it's not even doing anything. Like it doesn't even notice her.
I think he was
Um,
just trying to stay low so we can make it to the next destination with her,
yeah, because it
maybe.
looked like because she was walking around putting the
Mhm.
thing on and he didn't even move. Like
Mhm.
so, and that's what's so scary. It's like, is that thing? What is it doing? What's it? Is it moving? What's it doing? Right? And yeah, I it's a great film. Obviously, people like it. There's a lot of people who love it a lot more than I do, but I think it's a great flick.
I just love the world that they throw us into, and like you said, it's slow, but it works. The slow burn with the mystery. You're slowly like, what's going on here? They're on this planet. They got find these eggs, and it just keeps building and building, and just keeps getting crazier till the final act. It's all out tension with the ship's alarms going off, and the lights and the sweat coming off Ripley and everything. It's just, I love it. And Ripley's not even set up as our final girl at the start. There's kind of, you're not really sure who's the lead here, and I
Yeah,
like
you
that.
think you almost think the captain's
Yeah,
the
and
guy's gonna survive, right? And they knock him out quite early.
it
It's
just
not till you
makes
see Ripley taking control a lot. Once you start,
right,
you go, oh fuck, here we go. Like, and
exactly it.
and that Sarah Connor and Ripley are two of my favorite characters of all time. Never mind just females.
Mhm. Yeah, it just makes it more unpredictable, right? Because you don't know who's gonna go out. And yeah, like I said, it's almost like a slasher in space. They're getting picked off one by one. It's only one alien, but it's scary enough because you're on this ship in outer space. There's nowhere to run. And yeah, I just absolutely love it. The design again of the xenomorph, just the fact that he has this evolutionary process, like the going through from egg to face hugger, and having two mouths, the bleeding, the green blood. It's just so genius to come up with all this for your first film. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
I would say this is Ridley Scott's best film he's ever made. I just the things he does in this.
Mhm.
My only like shred of a negative I have is I don't know what her name is, but the other female lead we have in here, I just
Mhm.
she doesn't work for me. I just she's
Well,
too
she's
over
your
the
Bill
top.
Paxton character. She's kind of like your the one who can't handle anything.
Thomas short hair
Um,
there.
yeah, the Veronica Cartwright.
Mhm.
She was a little girl in the movie The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Pretty funny.
Interesting. And all right, so guys, yeah, we're at the top three now. And honestly, like I feel like any one of these, honestly, these were the three I had a good feeling was going to be in the top three, but I didn't quite know how they were going to land. Number three is going to be T2. I had this at three, Nick at two, and Jason at five.
Yeah, I mean, I know this. I probably brought that up, but I just like aliens and something else more. And I've always liked the aliens more than T2. T2 is perfect. I'd give it a 5-star film. The next three are 5-star films.
Same here.
It's just I like others more. I think because by the time T2 come out, I was like 12 years old. So the one I grew up with as a kid the most was Terminator. So and it shifts tones. It goes for more of an action movie, but it's got a great story still. You know what I mean? Still a great story about, and kind of there's a deleted scene in the original Terminator where Sarah wants to blow up Cyberdyne Systems. And she tells Reese, if we blow it up, it won't exist, right? And that's before that's before they sleep with each other and find out all that kind of stuff. So, which they do in this, she wants to stop Judgment Day. And, it's about, are we really bounded to fate, or can we make this happen? Can we, I guess, having free will, maybe, are we bounded to fate, or do we have the free will to make this happen? And, it's that's the story James Cameron wanted to tell. But the most intriguing part of this whole thing is the connection between the T-800 and John Connor and Sarah Connor, how she's just lost her humanity completely. She's when she goes to kill Dyson, she's turned into the very thing that was set to destroy her in the first movie, and that is interesting, so fascinating, and I just love that part. And again, Sarah Connor is the highlight of this whole movie for me. I mean, there's a lot of highlights really, but I love the way they handle her in this.
Yeah, Terminator 2, my favorite sequel of all time. 5 out of 5. Like you said, the bond between John Connor and the T-800 is so great to watch. He's like a father figure to him, while John's teaching him to be more human. And it really works by the end. When he gives the thumb up in the lava, you're like, damn, it brings a tear to your eye. Yeah, just great characters. Obviously, Sarah Connor is awesome in this. She's pretty badass. The way she's actually becomes like a soldier kind of in this one. Yeah, just great movie overall. T-1000, one of the greatest villains ever. Like, how do you defeat liquid metal? And the lengths that they go to try to defeat him is awesome. In the final act, you think it's done. He comes back, kind of reminds me of the first film, but done even bigger. Yeah, great action. They do take away a little bit of that horror, that grittiness to replace it with comedy, but it does work. I have to admit it. Everything seems to work in this film.
And there are some moments like when with the guy Drake, hey, shut that fucking dog up, you fucking piece of shit, and she stabs him to the mouth, and after he's just, that's very
against
like
the
there are
wall.
there are some horror elements in there.
Yeah, just a little less.
And there are some cool deleted scenes in this movie too. I think it's the extended cut or something.
And again, being there, watching this for the first time, seeing the T-800 go down after John, you think he's out there to kill him. So us knowing now that he's good, the movie probably hits a little differently than the first time watching this, not knowing, right?
Well, yeah, and Robert Patrick, just what this is a more advanced model, and he's true infiltrator.
And he seemed like the good guy at start, right?
At times, yeah. He are you the, like when he goes, are you the little guardians of John Connor? He's almost like he just passes off as a human so well.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of like the nostalgia for this film because like I didn't get to see it completely all the way through till like 2014. That was the first time I ever sat down and watched this from start to finish, and do still really like it. That's just one of the things that holds it back from possibly being my number one is I just don't have the nostalgia for this film like a lot of other people have. I still really like it. It's definitely better than T3, so no need to freak out about that anymore. It's definitely better. But yeah, it's great. To me, this is the best, at least the second best version of the Terminator that Arnold plays. Like, obviously, I still prefer a different version more, but this is probably honestly one of the greatest films of all time. I can boldly and very respectfully say that.
Mhm.
So number 2 is Aliens. Nick at 5, Jason at 3, and this is my number 1.
I like that you picked this for number 1 because not many people would, and out of these three,
This was hard. The top 2 were the most difficult for me because I just think as an overall film, this is just hands down the better film in terms of just practical effects, characters, story, tension, horror, action, like you name it. To me, this is just the pinnacle of cinema. I just think best version of Ripley. This is just one of the best, as
oh,
Nick constantly keeps saying it, like it's one of the best designs like of all time of
Mhm.
any creature in cinema history.
and what James Cameron does with Ripley here is just how he builds upon her. She's PTSD and kind of like a Vietnam vet, and she goes back into the war, and just her growth and everything. How she becomes in the delete in the extended cut. It's important because she had a daughter that she lost,
Mhm.
and Newt replaces that, right? Um, and just you're rooting for her. You just root for her. You know what I mean? It's got so many other great characters with all their arcs too, like where Vasquez blames Frost's death on Gorman, right?
Mhm.
And then they end up dying in battle with each other. You already were
Mhm.
an asshole, Gorman. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they really this team really comes together when shit hits the fan. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They just die for each other, and I just love that, man, about this. And good old Michael Biehn, man, Sarah Connor and Ripley. Way to
Mhm.
go, dude.
High five.
Right. Yeah, right. Now this really is. It's funny. It's James Cameron too, and he did kind of like what he did with T1, T2. He just made this one bigger, more action packed, um, more aliens, so you get more carnage. That whole scene where they're all hiding in the walls when the military like first runs into them is so great. Uh, Newt and Ripley, like you said, great relationship there, and you kind of uh, corresponds with the queen and her eggs. Like later, she has to protect her young as well, and yeah, great final act with that forklift machine thing.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, they get
Oh
that
yeah,
iconic
so
one.
like I say this
She
I say this
stole
quite
that from
often.
Charles from the Planet of the Apes. She stole that line.
Yeah,
She does it better. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I say this often about James Cameron. Why I think he's brilliant is there's a certain style, there's a certain pacing he uses. You notice this from Terminator to Aliens to Avatar, to True Lies. He does a lot of character work in the first half of the
Mhm.
movie, and then that third act, but his third act's are usually like 45 minutes long,
Right.
half an hour long, right? Once he presses the gas on, he doesn't let up, and that's how you design an action film. That's the way to do it. He
Mhm.
paces things out perfectly, I think. In the original Terminator, as soon as he finds them at the motel, it doesn't stop. In T2, as soon as John and Sarah reconcile and they go to blow up Cyberdyne, it doesn't stop,
Mhm.
right? There's a point in Avatar where that last third act war, it doesn't stop. Like he really does have um he really is a great writer and great storyteller.
Mhm.
This
Definitely.
might this might sound weird coming from me, but like I like James Cameron. One of my favorite movies of his, honestly, is Titanic. Like I just
Same here.
love the way he does that movie. Like that's a perfect film for me. It's I don't know. It's fantastic. Like and it's just like you said, Jason. Like it's like once the ship hits the iceberg, like
It doesn't stop. Yeah.
it does not.
Exactly. And you know what? I don't know. I mean, we review a lot of movies. You guys know we all talk a lot of movies, and one thing we notice a lot is pacing sometimes just doesn't work in a lot of films.
Mhm.
You know, they're going up and down and up and down. They don't really know where, like they know it's just a pacing thing. Maybe it's an editing thing. Who know, like that all has to do with it, right?
Mhm.
And he just has a knack for it. Even with like Alita Battle Angels, it's a Cameron
Right.
film. Let's face it. It feels just like a James
Mhm.
Cameron film.
He was supposed to direct it, but didn't get to.
Well, I mean, really, like these top 6 films here, like they have the best pacing out of probably
Mhm.
most of these films, honestly.
And I think that was an issue with our bottom movies was the pacing and how boring some of them were.
100%. And of course, coming in at number 1, which did still hurt my soul, but I do still love this movie, is the original Terminator. Like, flawless film to me. To me, this is the best villain in the entire Terminator franchise. To me, I prefer Arnold's version over the T-1000. I do love the T-1000. It's still a great villain. I just think Arnold is a more imposing figure, a much more. He's a slasher villain. Like literally, this is a slasher film to a degree.
Mhm.
This
Another-
movie has so much to talk about.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because one of the biggest debates in the Facebook groups and other social media is it a horror?
Mhm.
It's definitely a fucking horror movie. I just put my review out for this movie today, and I say that through it, saying I'm not here to really debate that too much, but I will let you know it's a horror movie.
Mhm.
Because I'm terrified at points in this movie.
Mhm.
There's a sense of like the AI turning on us. That's fucking scary when you think about it. You know what I mean?
It's a
Mhm.
very
Some of
real
the
thing that
image,
could happen.
some of the imagery's, some of the imagery's scary. It's foreboding. The whole movie has a foreboding, dark feel to it. He
Mhm.
punches a fucking guy's heart out the
Yeah.
first time he meets up with people. Like, so when people say no, this is just a sci-fi, I don't get where they're coming from. I'm like, yeah, well, it is. Yes, it's a sci-fi. It's a love story at the heart of it.
Yeah, it's
Masked as
a
all these other
genre
things.
blender.
Yeah, and it's a perfect genre blender. And I
Mhm.
love same with Predator. Like that's why I like these. A lot of these '80s movies were genre blenders.
Mhm.
They could weave into different things all the time. And man, I think Michael Biehn is one of the most intense actors I've ever seen. This role of Kyle Reese, and the way
Right.
he has this PTSD. We see the world building of him in the future. You know, he looks at Sarah's picture and it kind of brings him some peace. You know what I mean? Calms him down.
Mhm.
And and Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, and this damsel in distress to a soldier by the end of it. It's just
Mhm.
it's fantastic, and that's why I like it more than T2. I it really is the dark nature of the movie and how foreboding it is, and you just feel things a lot more. Is it dated with some of the effects? Sure, it is, but it's never bothered me because the story
Mhm.
is so strong.
I agree 100% on everything. Everything you stated. Yeah, I love time travel movies, and this is
Yes.
such a great story. You got that perfect loop in here, great rich characters, layered story, great score, great villain. Now, like you mentioned in your review today, Jason, that cop station scene is so friggin' intense.
Yeah,
It's just a great movie overall, like all
and
around.
it's also what gets me every time I watch it when you see that prologue, right? Like the war has been waging for decades, and the final battle will be fought tonight in the past. And I'm like,
Genius.
what what a genius way to start a movie. You know what I mean? And like when you see Kyle Reese and the Terminator going at one another through that whole movie, just strip away all the buildings as if like to them this is the final battle. Reese is
Mhm.
on a mission and it won't stop until it's done. And it's pretty it's intense. He brings such an intensity and all the exposition he brings. That's another thing Cameron does great is moving the picture along giving you the exposition, but the action's going forward all the time. It's
And
yeah,
the
I
whole
can't say
twist
enough.
too with Kyle Reese being John's dad is pretty mind blowing too. It's so well made.
Yeah, because most action movies, they'll have a sex scene in that's gratuitous, just to stop the pacing a bit, just to, oh, let's breathe a bit, right?
Mhm.
They shag, whatever. There's a reason for it. And it's a big reason.
Yeah, means
Yeah.
something.
So
Yeah, like I said, this was hard to like not put this at number one because I will only say this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I love it. My favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of all time. To me, this is the best character he's ever played. The best version of the character, personally. I know a lot of people would prefer the Uncle Bob version, but this to me is
I mean, my top 5 films of all time, they're quite easy because I just can't think of these movies not in my life. And that's Rocky, First Blood, Terminator, Predator, and Aliens. I can't stray away from those 5 movies. They're
Stacked.
just so damn good.
I mean, those are very, very good choices. So yeah, guys, that is the average of our specialist rankings. I definitely I had a lot of fun going through these movies and going through
For
and doing
sure.
this video. Man, it was a lot, but it was worth it at the end. I hope to do another one here, at least one more here before the year ends. I was going to do one for Halloween, but I just have too much stuff going on here in the next few months. I don't think I'll have enough time to go and do another one.
They're
So
they're tough to get through, man, because I spent weeks watching these movies.
All right.
same here.
So yeah, it's tough. Worth it though. It's worth
Yeah.
it though.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys joining along. It was definitely, like I said, it's definitely more fun doing it with other people, getting everybody's different opinions on things. I mean, obviously, wildly different opinions on some films. Pretty similar here in the top handful that we had here. So
I'm actually surprised because most people like T2 more than T1
Yeah.
that I've seen. So I was
Yeah.
surprised all 3 of us landed on that movie.
Yeah, we're all on the same page there.
that's right. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Midwest Cantina podcast. I want to thank Nick and Jason for coming on and talking about the specialist ranking. So, Nick, we're going to start off with you. Anything you'd like to plug or anything coming up you want to talk about?
I just put out a Die Hard ranking today on the Movie Ranker, my YouTube channel, and I plan on getting Pirates of the Caribbean and the Middle Earth movies, Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies, done ranked before the end of the month. And if I have any more time, I'll throw some more in there because October will be horror only content, so that's gonna be a whole lot of fun. So, yeah.
All right. And then, Jason, how about you?
My name is Jason. I'm Backtrack Cinema, so I talk movies of the past mostly. I just released my Terminator review. Come to think of it, today actually. So I'm going through something called the Action Alphabet Challenge. So that was letter T. So I got next week I should have Underworld out for you, and V for Vendetta. Hopefully I can get those 2 out. I've been going through the 24 TV show, Fox TV show. I did 24 season 1. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep reviewing 24. I'll probably do a ranking because the first video didn't do so well and YouTube's algorithm sucks. So when you have a bad video that doesn't get a lot of eyes on it, it's not going to push your other stuff out. So I'm debating whether to keep reviewing them or not, and just do a ranking when I'm done watching them. And in October, I'm going to be doing reviews all month long, 1970s horror. So
Ooh.
Omen, The Exorcist, Suspiria, Carrie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Black Christmas?
I haven't. I haven't really made my mind up of the actual list, but think of classic 70s horror films. So that's what I got coming up.
All right, cool. And you gotta at least get Black Christmas in there too.
I'm gonna do that in December. Or I would have done it in October.
Okay.
So
yeah, for me, the only things I really got coming up is in the next few weeks, I'll be dropping a bunch of Saw reviews, getting ready for Saw X. And of course, leading into October, obviously, we'll be having a bunch of horror content coming out. So should be a lot of fun. Pretty excited for the next month and a half on the channel. And again, hopefully we can get back together again and do another specialist ranking here at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
fun. That'd be fun. They're a lot of fun, man.
All right, guys, I did put both channels down in the description below, and I also put down each of our specialist rankings individually so you guys can kind of see.
Cool.
So make sure you guys head on over, go check these guys' channels out. They put out great content. Definitely go support them. And with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Yes.
Yeah.